Becoming a ninja starting from Naruto. Hey! Look who's back for more adventures. We love having you here to continue this story that keeps us all awake. Important note, all of this is pure fiction, so don't try any techniques you hear here in real life, your neighbor might call the cops. This amazing novel and all its rights belong to the original author, we're just the ones giving it voice and drama. Are you enjoying the show? Prove it by subscribing to our YouTube channel and leaving that like that motivates us so much. And if you want VIP access to exclusive content, our Patreon is waiting with things you won't find anywhere else. Chapter 26, Hiruzen, that child is an excellent ninja. The problem is finally solved. This was the thought that simultaneously crossed the minds of Senju Tobirama and Emiya Shiyuan, though they were solving different problems. By the time Emiya Shiyuan started to persuade him, Senju Tobirama had already stopped his feint of unleashing the Impure World Reincarnation. This was because the de facto ruler of Konoha had long anticipated Emiya Shiyuan's character and knew that he would not bear to plunge the ninja world into chaos. Emiya Shiyuan was truly gullible. Senju Tobirama knew how to exploit his kindness. However, he still needed to be cautious. Senju Tobirama suspected that Emiya Shiyuan's kindness might be exploited by others. Since he couldn't restrict his movements, he might encounter people from other ninja villages. He had to be careful about this. After all, Emiya Shiyuan would be in this era for a long time. Senju Tobirama secretly thought that he might arrange for Emiya Shiyuan to see the dark side of the world, so that he would not be so easily deceived in the future. This was a new era even more cruel than the ancient times. Killing and deceiving ninjas are already accustomed to this kind of life. For example, it is possible that Uchiha Madara deceived and used Emiya Shiyuan, otherwise why would he hide with Emiya Shiyuan in the middle of the night after faking his death? Come to think of it, Senju Tobirama narrowed his eyes and took the initiative to bring up the topic. That guy Madara faked his death during the battle with his elder brother to escape, but he secretly sneaked into the place where Lord Emiya lives. There must be some conspiracy. Madara is blind in one eye. Senju Hashirama's thoughts were relatively simple. He just expressed his own point of view. This is the price he paid for escaping death. Maybe he wanted to heal his eyes, is that so? Emiya Shiyuan frowned and expressed his confusion about Uchiha Madara's behavior. Then why does he want to use the illusion of the Sharingan to control me? If you want to cure an illness, shouldn't you tell the doctor directly? Lord Emiya's ideas are too kind. Senju Tobirama began his teaching, and by the way, he scolded Uchiha Madara. That guy Madara is evil by nature. He has always believed that everyone in the ninja world should submit to his force. He thinks he can control Lord Emiya with the power of illusion, but Lord Emiya must be careful. Senju Tobirama hoped Emiya Shiyuan wouldn't be fooled. Even though Madara's evil plan failed this time, he might use other means to infiltrate Konoha in the future, using lies to deceive you into helping him heal his blind eye. People in this era are not simple-minded. Senju Tobirama took the opportunity to teach Emiya Shiyuan. There are always some people in this world who use carefully crafted lies to deceive others in order to achieve their own goals. Emiya Shiyuan simply frowned and said nothing. At this moment, Emiya Shiyuan seemed still a little unaccustomed to the ways of the ninja of this era, and wondered if Senju Tobirama was hinting at him. Speaking of which, where had Black Zetsu gone? Could he be busy at this hour? In fact, Black Zetsu is quite busy. He was a little worried about Uchiha Madara's safety. Uchiha Madara held the hope of awakening a new pair of Rinnegan. Before Emiya Shiyuan could truly create a new pair of Rinnegan, he didn't want to see a weakened Uchiha Madara left behind by Konoha's ninja. Outside Konoha village. Inside Konoha village, the Nine Tails was still being dealt with. Outside, a weakened Uchiha Madara was still evading the pursuit of the Anbu. He didn't care about these Konoha ninjas, only worried about being caught up by the Senju Hashirama brothers. HMPH, that sinister Tobirama is always so thoughtful. Uchiha Madara glanced warily at the Anbu ninjas blocking his path. He knew they must have been sent by Senju Tobirama before he left Konoha. That guy had long anticipated his escape. However, Uchiha Madara knew he couldn't stay here any longer. Even if he could evade their perception, he couldn't escape the endless stream of ninjas sent by Konoha to pursue and search for him. Within Konoha village, there was another unique ninja clan. The Hyuga clan, possessing the Byakugan Keki Genkai, saw everything with their Byakugan's clairvoyant abilities. Their eyes were perfect for hunting down enemies, but sooner or later, he would be exposed. Charge! Uchiha Madara suddenly charged out. The four Anbu ninja patrolling the area hurriedly drew their ninja swords, shouting as they tried to block his path. Uchiha Madara is here, don't even think about escaping from us, HMPH, Uchiha Madara snorted contemptuously. In a split second, he dispatched the 4 Anbu ninja. The moment they saw Uchiha charging forward, the 4 combined forces had no time to mount an effective counterattack before they were completely routed. It wasn't just a matter of strength, but also of talent and experience, an incomparable gap. But that was enough. Another, more troublesome ninja team had discovered his presence. Sarutobi Sasuke, the most valued ninja of the first and second Hokage, personally led a team of the Ino Shikacho ninja, charging towards Uchiha Madara. "Stop him," Sarutobi Sasuke shouted to his teammates to take action. He put his fingers together and made a hand seal, and urged hurriedly, "As long as we stop him from leaving here, Hokage-sama and Tobirama-sama will be able to catch up soon after they deal with the Nine Tails, Fire Style, Fire Dragon Flame Bomb." Sarutobi Sasuke spurted out a long ball of flame in the direction of Uchiha Madara from his mouth, and flew over like a dancing fire dragon. Sarutobi Sasuke, Uchiha Madara's eyebrows twitched, and the corners of his mouth actually smiled mockingly. He squinted his eyes and dodged the flying flames. "Huh? I thought the ninja praised by Hashirama would be so excellent, but I didn't expect him to be so stupid as to want to use fire escape techniques against Uchiha." Shadow imitation technique. A man with pigtails clasped his hands on the ground. The shadow under his feet grew like a long line and connected with the shadow under Uchiha Madara's feet. He reminded his teammates in a somewhat nervous voice, "You'd better be faster. The gap between him and me is too big. Shadow can't control him for too long." Let me add. Ninja technique, heart turn technique. A blond man raised his finger, and his spirit suddenly entered Uchiha Madara's body, trying to control Uchiha Madara's body. "Don't underestimate us, Madara." Multiplication technique. A fat and strong figure appeared behind Uchiha Madara. His body suddenly became as tall as a mountain, waving his huge fist and smashing at Uchiha Madara. If that punch landed, Uchiha Madara would likely be reduced to pulp. Such a combined attack was a formidable undertaking for any ninja. Add to that a formidable Sarutobi Sasuke, and Uchiha Madara instantly resolved his own crisis. Facing the blonde ninja who attempted to seize control of his body, Uchiha Madara instantly used a ninjutsu to control him. Under Madara's control, the blonde ninja used the heart transformation technique to infiltrate the pig-tailed man's mind, who was controlling the shadows. The blonde ninja then used the shadow mimicry technique to manipulate the shadow of the portly, muscular man behind Madara. Boom! The portly, muscular man's body involuntarily rolled, sending both the blonde ninja and the pig-tailed man flying. The combined Ino Shikacho combo was instantly defeated. Their defeat was even rather disastrous. Even to describe it as disastrous would be a bit too proud. Because Uchiha Madara had merely glanced. Or rather, he hadn't even truly glanced. This terrifying man simply used the blonde ninja's mind that had invaded his body to quickly and efficiently eliminate the Ino Shikacho duo, in a time so short that it could even be measured in seconds. Within seconds, Sarutobi Sasuke was the only one left in the pursuit team. The chakra has recovered a little. Uchiha Madara's eyes were still fixed on Sasuke, who was beginning to sweat. His fingers slowly formed a hand seal. "It seems that a ninja like you can't be easily shaken off. So, let's be more serious and show you a real fire escape." Sarutobi Sasuke's eyes suddenly tightened. Half a minute later, the Ino Shikacho duo rushed back to the battlefield. Uchiha Madara, the target the team was pursuing, had already left. They were somewhat horrified to see that their captain, Sarutobi Sasuke, was severely burned all over his body and seemed to have completely passed out. Even his breathing had become weak. "We can't catch up with Madara anymore." The fat and strong man carried the seriously injured and dying Sarutobi Sasuke on his back and quickly returned to the direction of Konoha. "We must send the captain to the hospital first. The captain looks a little bad." The blonde ninja had woken up from the illusion because of the serious injury he was hit, and asked his teammates nervously, "Should we tell the captain's family about this?" "It is definitely impossible to hide it." A man with braided hair rubbed his brows. "I have seen the captain's son. Hirozen is an excellent ninja. He will not be afraid because of his father's misfortune. Hope someone in the village can save the captain. Please vote for the monthly ticket." And read on. "The trial recommendation is over. I passed the first round. The Nara clan seems to be working part-time as Chinese medicine practitioners. The Sarutobi clan is good at fire escape. No matter how good the prototype of Sarutobi Sasuke is, He can never beat Uchiha Madara no matter how much he is admired by Kishimoto. Hashirama and Madara have always been the ones who are ahead with a gap. It's probably the kind of situation where a gifted academic god crushes a gifted academic tyrant. The gifted academic tyrant is Senju Tobirama, and Sarutobi Sasuke is a hard-working academic tyrant. Chapter 27, was anesthesia given during the operation? Konoha Hospital. Emiya Shiyuan was there. Now he looked like a doctor. This was what Emiya Shiyuan had to do in Konoha, be a doctor in Konoha Hospital, treating patients and saving lives. He was a true medical nin. Few in Konoha recognized his face, and he made no effort to hide his identity. However, some in Konoha Hospital thought he looked familiar. The Senju clan had many medical nin, and most, as children, had secretly crouched before Emiya Shiyuan's crystal coffin, just like Hashirama Senju. Tell him to pay attention to his diet. Emiya Shiyuan's fingertips, a shimmer of emerald chakra, vanished silently. Without even checking on the patient he had cured, he instructed the assigned assistant, tell his family to come to the ward and clean up. He can be discharged today. Chakra was indeed a magical power. It could heal wounds quickly. Combined with superior medical skills and sufficient experience, even difficult and complex surgeries could be performed with chakra's healing power, minimizing the risks. Lord Emiya is so awesome, we don't dare to operate on this patient. That's normal. His vital signs must be maintained during the operation. It's also easy for the patient to die from excessive bleeding due to a large surgical wound. The length of the operation is related to his life. In addition, the rapid healing ability of post-operative medical ninjutsu cannot heal the wound. Emiya Shiyuan reached out for the medical record, wrote and drew on it for a while, and handed it to the assistant who was sent here. I'm just more proficient because I've performed too many operations. The conservative treatment plan you adopted for him has some effect. At least it has saved his life. The assistant was a little curious. This is a possible treatment, Shihara casually stated his method, saying, I've seen many patients, so I know a little more. The last patient like me used herbs from his home to alleviate his pain. I've used this herb on other patients and it's been very effective, and it hasn't caused any other illnesses. That's right, Shihara said, then suddenly added, once you find this herb, don't use it on the patient yet. Wait until I study it. The situation may be different. This was ancient knowledge. With at least 1,000 years to go, the human body would have evolved, and Shihara couldn't be sure of its effectiveness. Outside the operating room, Shihara had just opened the door. Sir Emiya, Hashirama Senju knelt before Shihara. The first Hokage knelt before Shihara's door, kowtowed, and pleaded with him to save his subordinate, Sarutobi Sasuke. Please save my comrade, Sasuke. Hashirama Senju, unconcerned with his Hokage's dignity, burst into tears. As long as I can save Sasuke's life, I'll do anything. I understand. Shihara Emiya's eyes twitched. Why did this man sound like he was out to cause trouble? And saving Sasuke sounded strange coming from him. Although Shihara Emiya had long known that Hashirama Senju was referring to Sasuke Sarutobi, he still felt a little uncomfortable. The assistant behind Shihara Emiya covered his face. Many in Konoha knew the first Hokage. Although he possessed immense power, he was easily moved to tears and prostrated himself when faced with something. Sasuke went after Madara. Hashirama Senju explained to Shihara Emiya about Sasuke's injury. He was severely injured by Madara's fire-release ninjutsu. Only one in the village. How many hours can he live? Shihara Emiya checked Sasuke's injuries. A look of horror crossed everyone's faces. Looks like we have to save him first. If only he could hold on for a few more days. Emiya Shiyuan ordered someone to carry Sarutobi Sasuke into the operating room and sighed. Fortunately, the next patient who needs surgery can still hold on for a few more years. Everyone present had sweat on their foreheads. No, is this really a serious medical ninja? It sounds like if Sarutobi Sasuke could hold on for a few more days, would they still be queuing here? Click. The door of the operating room closed. A group of guarding ninjas hurriedly pulled their Hokage to sit down. Just as they were waiting for the results of the operation in fear, a young man wearing a Konoha ninja forward protector hurried over, his face showing some anxiety and nervousness. Monkey, Senju Hashirama hurriedly called the young man to his side. This young man was Sarutobi Sasuke's son, Sarutobi Hiruzen. He was only 14 or 15 years old this year and was very worried about his father's serious injury. Because Sarutobi Hiruzen's family summoning beast was a monkey, and his last name was Sarutobi, His occasional erratic behavior, like that of a little monkey, earned him the nickname Monkey from the elders who had watched him grow up in Konoha. Hokage-sama, my father, the young Sarutobi Hiruzen nervously wanted to ask something. Monkey, don't be afraid. Hashirama Senju rubbed his head soothingly and spoke gently to calm him down. The person treating your father right now is the greatest medical ninja in the history of the ninja world, Hiruzen. Hiruzen. A group of young boys and girls ran over from the end of the corridor. When they saw Hashirama Senju, they hurriedly saluted and looked anxiously at their friends. Hiruzen, we heard that your father, the young Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded. Seeing the anxiety and tension of his friends, his expression gradually calmed down. Thank you, I'm sorry to have worried you. Hokage-sama just told me that my father will be well again soon. Yes, a big smile spread across Senju Hashirama's face. He raised his palm and said, I swear in the name of Hokage, he will be able to recover soon. Hokage-sama, a group of guarding ninjas were so scared that they hurriedly wanted to cover his mouth. No, you can't say such things casually. At least when Sarutobi Sasuke was sent here, he was already seriously injured and dying. No one expected that the head of the Sarutobi clan, who was good at fire escape, would be injured so badly by fire escape ninjutsu. Of course, if you think about his opponent, it is not easy to be sent to the hospital alive. Huh? Where's Danzo? A girl suddenly felt that someone was missing among them. Danzo seems to be still practicing hard in the training ground. A boy with glasses also noticed it, and hurriedly explained, we all followed when we got the news, and we didn't have time to tell him that Hiruzen's father was injured. Don't tell Danzo today. The young Sarutobi Hiruzen acted like a little adult in front of this group of panicked and worried friends, and explained calmly, I will find a chance to tell Danzo when my father's condition stabilizes, so that Danzo won't worry about it today. A group of young men nodded quickly. The young Sarutobi Hiruzen has a high prestige among his companions. He would occasionally make everyone happy. But when there was a tense atmosphere, he always looked very reliable. Of course. These little guys didn't expect this at all. Rescue actions at such a critical moment often take a long time. They can only stay here patiently and wait for the operation to save Sarutobi Sasuke to be over. In the operating room, Emiya Shiyuan performed the operation calmly. For him, this burn operation that required epidermal treatment was not something to pay special attention to, because he had just undergone a more difficult internal medicine operation. For the assistant, this scene seemed a little scary. In Emiya Shiyuan's left hand, a chakra scalpel floated, and he slowly cut out the burned skin and muscles on Sarutobi Sasuke's body in a minimally invasive way. Blood immediately overflowed from the wound. Emiya Shiyuan's right hand floated with emerald green yang attribute chakra, which quickly stopped the bleeding of the wound and allowed the muscle epidermal cell tissue at the wound to regenerate rapidly. Don't be afraid. The patient is very strong. While urging chakra to heal Sarutobi Sasuke's wound, Emiya Shiyuan was able to spare his attention to comfort the assistant beside him. Compared with a complex organ surgery inside the human body, this operation is already very simple. Fortunately, he was instantly burned by the fire escape technique. The patient is very smart, and there is no inhalation burn in his body. If the patient has inhalation burns while being burned, the danger level is much higher. I once rescued a patient who survived a fire. When I met him, his respiratory tract and lung organs had terrible burns. What was the result? The assistant beside him looked at Emiya Shiyuan with a little fear as he performed the operation and chatted. Emiya glanced at his assistant in confusion. Then he said as if it was a matter of course, at that time, my condition was stronger than it is now. I easily cut open the patient's throat and lungs and saved the patient. The assistant was already a little dizzy after hearing this. As expected of Lord Emiya, Sarutobi Sasuke regained consciousness in the pain. He felt severe pain all over his body and struggled to compliment him. Are you awake? Emiya thought for a second, and suddenly asked a question that terrified his assistant. By the way, do you remember that I gave him anesthesia before I rescued him? Danzo, my Danzo, by the way. In fact, they should call Sarutobi Sasuke Senpai, but I try to avoid situations where Sasuke Senpai may cause confusion in reading. Besides, everyone knows it after all. I have always been a fan of Sasuke. Welcome everyone to read the Sasuke extra chapter at the end of starting to be a part-time worker from Naruto. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 28 Hirozen, you will regret it. It was evening. The operating room door slowly opened. Emiya Shiyuan emerged, abashed. His assistants, terrified, followed him, too frightened to speak. Judging from their expressions, it looked like they weren't going to bring any good news, so much so that Senju Hashirama and the others stood up with a certain heaviness. Senior, the young Sarutobi Hirozen forced himself to his feet. He looked at the unfamiliar medical nin and took the initiative to introduce himself. I'm Sarutobi Hirozen, son of Sasuke Sarutobi. Senior, how is my father? Emiya Shiyuan's eyebrows twitched. Senior, the young Sarutobi Hirozen looked at Emiya Shiyuan, a sudden fear rising in his heart, fearing he might spill some bad news. Nothing, something went wrong during the operation. Emiya Shiyuan waved his hand, his expression nonchalant, but he survived this time after all. What happened? The young Sarutobi Hirozen's heart sank. What happened? Ninjas often encounter challenges while on missions. Many face lifelong disabilities or even confinement to a sickbed. Could it be that his father would be forever? Wait a moment, Emiya Shiyuan gestured for him to wait, then said, he's getting dressed now. You'll see him soon. Thank you, Senior. The young Sarutobi Hirozen could only thank Emiya Shiyuan. A hint of confusion crossed his face, as if he didn't quite grasp the meaning of the words. Get dressed? No, what did that mean? Get dressed in here by himself? Wasn't his father already gravely injured and near death? Could he even have the strength to dress himself at this point? With a bang, the operating room door flung open. Huh? Sarutobi Sasuke jumped as he emerged, having failed to notice the group of children gathered outside the operating room, including his own son. While Sasuke was frightened by the children, the real shock came from the Konoha ninjas carrying Sasuke to seek help. Everyone present stared at Sasuke Sarutobi in disbelief. Are you kidding me? How could he be saved in that condition? No, even if he could be saved, he shouldn't have been cured to this extent, right? This medical skill was a bit too much? Even the Konoha ninjas who had been brought in for help couldn't believe it. A patient severely injured by the fire-release ninjutsu, near death, could regain his mobility without even a trace of injury. Sasuke Sarutobi wasn't even bandaged, not a single burn mark. His skin was as tender as a newborn's, as if the sight of him being brought in this morning was just an illusion. Wasn't this really just some illusion? Even Hashirama Senju, who had great confidence in Shihara Emiya's medical skills, was shocked at this moment, even doubting his own eyes. Hashirama Senju rubbed his eyes vigorously. Although Hashirama Senju had great confidence in Emiya Shiyuan's medical skills, he was a little incredulous that he had healed Sasuke Sarutobi so easily. During the Warring States period, when the Senju and Uchiha clans clashed, Hashirama often witnessed members of his clan succumbing to fire-style ninjutsu. This kind of injury isn't difficult to heal. Emiya Shiyuan's face showed no trace of complacency. The surgery wasn't complicated. The most complex part was the procedure. Konoha's current medical ninja lacked the courage or experience to perform such a procedure, nor did they have sufficient chakra. Any other medical ninja would have been unable to withstand the chakra depletion. Only Emiya Shiyuan, with his impure earthbound body and unlimited chakra, could persevere. He also happened to have performed even more challenging internal organ surgeries. Thank you very much for saving my life, Sarutobi Sasuke thanked Emiya Shiyuan with a sincere expression. Thank you, sir. The young Sarutobi Hirozen quickly followed his father in thanking him again. You can't call him senpai, Sarutobi Sasuke quickly corrected his son, even trying to teach him the correct way to address him. It's disrespectful to just call him senpai. Don't be so rude as to call him sir either. You must call him your excellency. Different titles represent different identities. Some would call Emiya Shiyuan sir, believing that this is respectful enough. Others would call him your excellency, believing that this is more respectful. Theoretically, in this era, your excellency is generally a title of honor bestowed upon daimyo. However, in the ancient times when Emiya Shiyuan lived, there probably weren't even daimyo. Back then, his reputation was already higher than that of the daimyo's ancestors. Don't worry about it, Emiya Shiyuan shook his head, unconcerned with the mere issue of address. For me, titles are secondary. Hey, so what nickname does senpai have? The young Sarutobi Hirozen was relieved to see that his father was safe. The 14 or 15-year-old boy was a bit lively and playful. While talking to Emiya Shiyuan, He reverted to his old ways, deliberately sticking his tongue out and making faces at his healthy father. He thought this stranger, a senior, was quite approachable. Hiruzen, Sarutobi Sasuke quickly restrained his son. Perhaps, Emiya Shiyuan, unfazed by the boy's impertinence, actually answered his question. There are probably many people in the world who secretly think I'm foolish and naive. They probably have nicknames for me, but I'm unlikely to know. How could that be? Sarutobi Sasuke quickly tried to comfort Emiya Shiyuan, patting his son on the head and offering his words. Anyone who dares disrespect you will be punished. It wasn't just a life-saving favor, it was also a debt of gratitude to the medical tradition of this era. Lying on the operating table, Sarutobi Sasuke heard Emiya Shiyuan instructing them, Konoha's medical ninja, generously sharing his experience. He was truly worthy of respect. Indeed, Senju Hashirama's face was also filled with determination. However, the first Hokage was also quite eccentric, and he immediately stroked his chin and thought, but we also need to give Emiya Dano a nickname that's catchy and reflects his characteristics. Hey, Hokage-sama. To Anbu quickly stopped Senju Hashirama. Alright, Emiya Shiyuan seemed unfazed by the situation, specifically reminding Sarutobi Sasuke, when I resuscitated you, I accelerated the division and regeneration of some of your cells during the operation, which may also accelerate your aging process. You're lucky to be alive. Sarutobi Sasuke's face lit up with genuine gratitude, and he even chuckled. It's okay, our clan always looks old. Surviving was truly a matter of great fortune. Whether it was surviving Uchiha Madara's hands, or being severely injured and near death by Uchiha Madara, only to be saved by a great figure like Emiya Shiyuan. This experience surprisingly gave his life a sense of grandeur. We will always remember this kindness, Sarutobi Sasuke said. Before earnestly thanking the first Hokage and his group. He even took the time to tap the young Sarutobi Hiruzen on the head. Don't be disrespectful to Lord Emiya, I don't even know his name. I think it's Emiya? Could he be a descendant of the legendary sage Emiya Shiyuan? The young Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't care about the pain. He simply gazed curiously at the strange and unfamiliar medical ninja. He had never seen this person before in the village. It was sunset. As the evening glow streamed through the window into the hospital corridor, a young man rushed in. A hint of anxiety etched on his face, for he had received the news too late. Hey, Hiruzen, the young man shouted upon seeing his friend Sarutobi Hiruzen. I just heard your father was seriously injured, but before he could finish, he saw Sasuke, walking behind Sarutobi Hiruzen and his group, his face full of doting and unperturbed. He didn't look seriously injured or near death at all. This state was completely different from the news the boy had just received. The boy's face suddenly changed, as if he had been deceived again. Hiruzen, another prank of yours. Hey, Danzo, listen to me. The young Sarutobi Hiruzen hurried forward, trying to stop his friend, hoping he wouldn't misunderstand. You tried to trick me again. The boy ran out again, his voice filled with suppressed anger, echoing through the corridor. Hiruzen, you'll regret this, please read and vote. Finally, I've written about my favorite character, Danzo. The young Sarutobi Hiruzen was quite cheerful. Based on this, I speculate that the young Sarutobi Hiruzen was similar to Naruto and Jiraiya. Because before Senju Tobirama covered their escape, when Sarutobi Hiruzen wanted to die calmly, his tone of voice was similar to Jiraiya's when he was young. Of course. 55 years later, the old Sarutobi Hiruzen has become very steady. I think it is a bit strange to write him as too steady at this point in time. He should be the kind of person who can be steady enough to convince people around him when encountering big things, but will lose his line when encountering small things. As for the last person to appear, you know that his appearance is always familiar style, which can be described as pure bloodline. Chapter 29, Peering from the Hokage Building. Bang! The doors of Konoha Hospital slammed shut. Everyone present saw the young man running out. They glanced at Sasuke, now recovered from his near-death injuries, and then at Sarutobi Hiruzen, who was being scolded by the young man. Then they understood the story behind these two friends. The young man, having just learned that his friend's father was seriously injured and near death, rushed to the hospital to check on his good friend. However, he discovered that his friend's father looked completely healthy. He must have been furious at his friend's prank. Tricking a friend's feelings. That sounded too bad. Danzo, let me explain. Sarutobi Hiruzen quickly chased after him to explain that his father, Sarutobi Sasuke, had indeed been seriously injured and had only been saved by a stranger, a medical ninja. Is that true? Danzo asked, skeptical. Of course it's true. As someone who had witnessed a miracle firsthand, Sarutobi Hiruzen, as lively and curious as a monkey, detailed his theory. The identity of that medical nin is very mysterious. Everyone calls him Lord Emiya. He's of a very high status and highly skilled in medicine. He might even be related to the greatest medical nin. Sarutobi Hiruzen stroked his chin, pondering as he spoke. He's a little strange, though. Even after saving a patient, he doesn't look happy at all. He looks like he's in a coffin. What does this have to do with us? Danzo's brow remained furrowed. Compared to his cheerful companion, Danzo was much more stoic, rarely smiling. If his identity is mysterious, it's probably a crucial village secret, not something we Jinan should be investigating. Danzo had a firm grasp of hierarchy. He was in awe of the power of Konoha's higher-ranking officials, believing that he would one day become one, and would strictly forbid those below him from accessing their secrets. But Sarutobi Hiruzen remained somewhat curious about Emiya Shihara. If it truly was a secret, surely they wouldn't just let them see it? However, neither the first Hokage, Hashirama Senju, nor his father, Sarutobi Sasuke, stopped the Jinan from engaging with the other party. While discussing this with his friends, the young Sarutobi Hiruzen noticed two figures emerging from Konoha Hospital, a fact that struck him as even more bizarre. It was sunset. The work at Konoha Hospital was almost over. In Sarutobi Hiruzen's view, he saw the first Hokage, Hashirama Senju, Konoha's most prestigious figure, walking side by side with a medical ninja. Hashirama even treated the other with such respect that it looked as if the first Hokage were accompanying some important figure. Those are the new generation of youngsters from our village. Hashirama Senju casually introduced the group of youngsters as he led Emiya Shiyuan on a tour of Konoha. Tobirama founded a ninja school in our village, and those youngsters are the first batch of students. The monkey that Lord Emiya just met is the most outstanding of them all. This was true. Sarutobi Hiruzen was truly gifted. The young Sarutobi Hiruzen had long mastered the Sarutobi clan's unique summoning beast, the Sarutobi Tsuruma. Even at this age, he had already refined 5 types of chakra and was learning 5 attribute ninjutsu from Senju Tobirama. Furthermore, Hiruzen possessed a very likable personality. At least those of the elders who had watched him grow up had recognized another quality in him, even more precious than his natural talent: leadership. This was something that could not be ignored. Although Hiruzen often appeared playful and frivolous, he was remarkably calm when faced with serious matters, even suppressing his inner panic and calmly comforting his companions. For example, today, when his father was seriously injured, the ninja present witnessed Hiruzen arrive at a hospital alone, his face filled with worry and anxiety, deeply concerned about his father's condition. Yet, even as his companions arrived, also filled with anxiety, the young man remained composed and took the initiative to comfort them. That little fellow beside the monkey is Danzo Shimura. Senju Hashirama had already witnessed a friendship between young Sarutobi Hiruzen and Danzo, and a hint of nostalgia crossed his face. I heard that monkey and Danzo were fierce rivals back in ninja school, but now that they've grown up, they're recognized companions. It seems they have a good relationship. Emiya Shihara nodded, his expression uncertain. If nothing unexpected happens, Hashirama Senju greatly admired Sarutobi Hiruzen and his group, and sighed. The future of Konoha rests on the shoulders of these little guys. Is that so? Emiya Shihara seemed to take a keen interest in the young men inside. Humans always want to place their will on the hopes of the future. Even the Six-Path Sage is no exception, let alone mortals like us. An assistant beside him quietly recorded Emiya Shihara's words and actions. He had been sent by Senju Tobirama to assist Emiya Shihara, primarily to secretly gather any intelligence he might casually reveal. For this era, Emiya Shihara possessed too many treasures. Senju Tobirama feared no opportunity, even instructing his assistants to secretly record and preserve everything he did. Inside the Hokage building, Senju Tobirama's work was quite hectic. Since Uchiha Madara hadn't been killed and had evaded capture, Senju Tobirama had to deploy additional personnel to continue suppressing and monitoring the Uchiha clan, to prevent any disturbances within Konoha at this time. Furthermore, Senju Tobirama had another major undertaking to prepare for. With his eldest brother, Senju Hashirama, only 10 years left to live, he decided to use Emiya Shihara's stories of ancient Ashura and the ninja clan to divide the various ninja clans within Konoha village and reshape their sense of identity within the community. Now, not far from the Warring States period, the villagers of Konoha still preferred to trust their respective clan leaders. They must be freed from the constraints of their clan's ideology and choose to trust and protect Konoha together. This was the only way. Konoha, which relied on the prestige and power of Hashirama Senju to reach its present state, could only survive his death. It seems, only the Senju clan can lead the way. Senju Tobirama was well aware of Konoha's situation. The Senju clan, the most powerful in the village, had to set an example to convince the other ninja clans of his approach. First, disband the Senju clan. Even their members would have to leave their designated settlements, each household settling in separate areas of the village as much as possible. Only with the Senju clan taking the lead would the other clans believe they had no intention of annexing them. Now, the next step in the plan could begin. Using this as an excuse, Tobirama Senju could gradually guide the ninja from the various clans to disperse, abandoning the prejudices of clan names and integrating into Konoha. If this plan succeeded, everyone would identify solely with their own Konoha ninja identity. They would no longer belong to any particular clan, but would act solely in the name of Konoha. The children growing up in the village would also continue to identify with Konoha. But, the Uchiha clan cannot be broken up. They must be gathered together to facilitate surveillance and prevent the emergence of dangerous figures like that bastard Uchiha Madara. The Hyuga clan is also a problem. To prevent the Byakugan from leaking out, they've placed a caged bird control seal on the foreheads of their branched ninjas. Even if they were forced to separate, the Hyuga clan leader would be able to control them. This tradition can't be changed anytime soon, and protecting the Byakugan from leaking out is also very beneficial to Konoha. If the Hyuga clan is willing to respect the Konoha high-ups in the future, perhaps we'll have to wait for a branch clan to rebel against the main clan before we can find an opportunity to intervene. As for the other ninja clans, there's basically nothing special going on. Senju Tobirama was well versed in the various ninja clans in Konoha. He immediately decided to end his plan and find an opportunity to discuss this decision with his eldest brother. Knock, knock, knock. There was a knock on the door. Emiya Shiyuan's assistant delivered today's intelligence. Lord Tobirama, this is information about Lord Emiya. Most of it is about medical surgery skills and experience, as well as some medicines for treating diseases. However, he said that after finding the herbs, he must verify them first. I see. After flipping through it, Senju Tobirama nodded with satisfaction at his gains. It seems that Lord Emiya treated many patients in the hospital today. Yes, what a pity. Senju Tobirama felt a little regretful that this information did not involve any content that could be used to improve the strength of ninjas. His eyes slowly stopped at the last place. Only Konoha is the future that you can entrust to. For Konoha, even using some means is not a bad idea. Please read and vote for me. Kishimoto mentioned about the design of Team 7 that Haruno Sakura might have been intended to be a descendant of Senju, and even the family emblem appeared on the wall behind her, but it was abandoned because of her popularity. Chapter 30 Uchiha Madara's Sudden Enlightenment. How many patients are there in Konoha Hospital? Senju Tobirama tapped the table intentionally or unintentionally. There are still dozens of seriously ill patients in the hospital. The assistant who was lurking beside Emiya Shiyuan was impressed by Emiya Shiyuan's medical skills in just one day. He couldn't help but sigh. With your medical skills, these patients will soon be able to get rid of the pain of their illnesses. In this case, Senju Tobirama narrowed his eyes and seemed to be talking to himself. If there are no patients in the hospital in our village, with his personality, he can't stay in Konoha forever. He will probably go around treating patients and saving lives like in ancient times, and he must also want to see this era. The sound of Senju Tobirama's fingers tapping on the table was a bit shocking. He thought about the situation in the ninja world and the troubles facing Konoha. If he left Konoha, what does Tobirama-sama mean? The assistant didn't quite understand what Senju Tobirama meant, and tried to persuade him. If Tobirama-sama wants to imprison Emiya-sama, I don't recommend it. What are you thinking about? Senju Tobirama waved his hand to reassure his subordinate, saying coldly, Konoha would never do such a thing. I'm only concerned for Lord Emiya's safety. Not everyone in the ninja world will respect him as much as we do. Take, for example, Uchiha Madara. Senju Tobirama rested his chin on his palm, a dangerous glare in his eyes as he contemplated a plan to fully exploit Emiya Shihara. Tomorrow morning, have Monkey and the others gather at the training ground, Senju Tobirama ordered, adding gravely, starting tomorrow, I'll give them special training. From their training, I'll select suitable candidates for a special mission. Also, have the Anbu ninja gather. I'll also select a group of suitable candidates. Senju Tobirama pondered his plan against Emiya Shihara with extreme care. fearing even the slightest misstep. I must find time to meet with my brother. If nothing unexpected happened, Uchiha Madara would undoubtedly take action when Emiya Shiyuan left Konoha. Senju Tobirama thought he understood Uchiha Madara quite well. He believed he would want to use Emiya Shiyuan's medical skills to heal the Sharingan he had lost to escaping death. Those are the eyes of his younger brother, Uchiha Izuna. Senju Tobirama recalled the man he had killed, his eyes cold as he pondered. Those eyes are the only ones left in this world that bear traces of Uchiha Izuna, and the Uchiha clan's power rests on their Sharingan. It's only natural, he thought, that Uchiha Madara would find a way to restore the sight of those eyes. There's no doubt that once Emiya Shiyuan leaves Konoha, that will be Madara's best chance, and our best chance to kill him again. Indeed, Senju Tobirama's guess was correct. This man understood Uchiha Madara's mindset quite well. The only thing that misjudged Senju Tobirama was that Uchiha Madara wasn't seeking to heal his own blind eyes. Uchiha Madara didn't believe Emiya Shiyuan's medical skills could cure his blindness. He simply wanted to see Emiya Shiyuan to inquire about ancient secrets. In the Land of Fire, at an underground base of the Uchiha clan, Uchiha Madara, after escaping the pursuit of the Konoha ninja, rested briefly in this base, a location known only to him, the former clan leader. Lacking medical ninja, Uchiha Madara attempted to transplant Hashirama's flesh and blood onto his own wound, hoping to gain the power of Hashirama Senju. Fortunately, this crude transplant was a success. The process was somewhat dangerous, as Hashirama's flesh and blood rapidly grew on his body, but fortunately, it was quickly controlled by his own chakra. Success! Uchiha Madara closed his eyes in satisfaction. The man could clearly feel the chakra surge within him. His chakra and recovery abilities had been greatly enhanced by the transplant of Hashirama's cells. Let me see. Uchiha Madara's finger slashed his arm. Blood flowed from the wound, but then, stimulated by the chakra within his body, it healed rapidly. This self-healing ability was unique to Hashirama Senju. Now he too had acquired this terrifying self-healing ability. What surprised Uchiha Madara most was the vine sprouting from his arm, a wood-style Kekkei Genkei unique to Hashirama Senju. There's something strange about my chest, Madara said, standing before a smooth glass. He saw a white mask growing from his chest, its shape somewhat resembling that of his friend, Hashirama Senju. This was the price he paid for gaining Hashirama's power. Transplanting Hashirama's cells would leave a permanent mark on his body. But, it's far from what I truly desire. Madara casually threw on a piece of clothing, covering the mask on his chest, his brow furrowed in dissatisfaction. According to the inscriptions on the ancient stone tablets of our Uchiha clan, the interaction of positive and negative forces should yield the power of the universe. The gap was enormous. Despite his immense strength increase. For Uchiha Madara, this increase in strength couldn't compare to the price he paid, the blindness of one of his eternal mythical Sharingan eyes. That was the eye his younger brother, Uchiha Izuna, had entrusted to him. Could he have guessed wrong? The power of the universe. What exactly is the power of the universe? Uchiha Madara fell back into deep thought, convinced his understanding couldn't be wrong. He reached out and stroked his eye sockets. After gaining Hashirama's power, I can feel that the energy required to use the mythical Sharingan's eye techniques has decreased. But, this improvement isn't a qualitative change. There are some messages on our clan's stone tablet, messages that even I, with Izuna's transplanted eyes, couldn't read. If my guess is correct, the final content should be that after gaining the power of the universe, our clan will use it to save the world, HMPH, but, that's not such a big deal now. Uchiha Madara thought of the man whose secret he had exposed, his fake death, of that ancient medical ninja, and a smile crept across his lips. If I remember correctly, when I was a kid, Hashirama told me about Emiya Shiyuan, the first medical ninja in the ninja world. Maybe, he knows something. Looks like I need to find a chance to meet that ancient man. Maybe I can even get the message hidden in the stone tablet from him. Uchiha Madara's mind was very active. He was no longer bound by the contents of the Uchiha clan's stone tablet. Since this ancient figure, Emiya Shiyuan, appeared in this era, why not find an opportunity to ask him directly? Perhaps all my confusion could be resolved. Maybe. Uchiha Madara raised his hand and grabbed the short sword, intending to lurk near Konoha, looking for another chance to meet Emiya Shiyuan. That man knows how to unlock the power of the universe. Maybe we can gain something even greater, under the base of this stronghold. Black Zetsu's figure lurked quietly in the darkness. Compared to Uchiha Madara's confidence, Black Zetsu's thoughts were more complex. He had originally assumed that Uchiha Madara, after receiving Hashirama Senju's chakra, would be able to quickly activate his Rinnegan from his eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. However, things didn't turn out as he imagined. I need to see Marihara too. We must find a way to help Marihara and Uchiha Madara meet again. Hiding underground, Black Zetsu followed Uchiha Madara towards Konoha, pondering something. Only Marihara can identify the problem and allow Uchiha Madara to truly awaken his Rinnegan. But, let's teach Marihara how to deceive first. Uchiha Madara is unruly. He's already seen the steel left by the Six Paths Sage. We must find a way to prevent Marihara from discovering the deception on the steel after they meet. What a headache. How can I teach Marihara to lie? How can I make Marihara accept that sometimes, concealing and deceiving others isn't such a bad thing? Seeking monthly votes on Monday. Today I still have nearly 6,000 words. Because I have to continue to climb the new book list on Monday. I will definitely update it when it is released. After it is released, it will basically be 10,000 words a day. Chapter 31 Black Zetsu, Will You Lie? Inside Konoha Village, Emiya Shiyuan didn't care about anyone's prying eyes. He had long anticipated Senju Tobirama's covert surveillance. Given his character, he wouldn't miss any opportunity to strengthen Konoha. However, thousands of years ago, Emiya Shiyuan had strategically positioned himself, fooling everyone into believing he was truly harmless, forcing Senju Tobirama to resort to roundabout tactics to gain Konoha's favor. Everyone believed only one thing: Emiya Shiyuan wanted a better future for the world. Even Black Zetsu, who constantly sought to overthrow the ninja world, didn't worry about Emiya Shiyuan harming him, he only worried about him ignoring him. This, too, was Black Zetsu's greatest challenge. Black Zetsu desperately hoped that Emiya Shiyuan would learn to be a little more ruthless, abandoning his so-called noble morals and joining him in the dark cause of resurrecting Kaguya. Unfortunately, when Black Zetsu quietly arrived in Konoha, he found Emiya Shiyuan reviewing the medical records of his time at Konoha Hospital, a source of even greater worry. Those ordinary people died and so did Emiya Shiyuan. Why should he waste his energy to save them? Are you back? When Emiya Shiyuan saw Black Zetsu show up on his own initiative, he did not stop writing and kept saying, Black Zetsu, wait a moment, I'll finish writing this first. Black Zetsu could only wait helplessly. Only when it saw Emiya Shiyuan put down his pen could it speak out to persuade him. Emiya, we are going to do a greater cause. This is not a conflict. Emiya Shiyuan carefully rolled up the scroll and explained seriously, anyway, these little things won't waste my time, and I will continue to do them in the future. Speaking of which, how about that man named Uchiha Madara? Emiya Shiyuan had long known that Black Zetsu would definitely talk about Uchiha Madara, so he simply brought it out directly. I heard some news about him in the village of Konoha. This person has a bad reputation in the village, and many people are afraid of him. Uchiha Madara is like his ancestor Indra. Black Zetsu immediately took over the topic and introduced their future chess pieces. Uchiha Madara has always believed that strength can bring rule and stability. Such people who like to use power are naturally not very pleasing to the weak, and often arouse fear. That's right. After Black Zetsu introduced Uchiha Madara, he continued, Uchiha Madara wants to see you now because he wants to get some information from you. What news? How can one awaken the Rinnegan? Black Zetsu's voice grew darker as he spoke. The Six-Path Sage left a stone tablet for the descendants of his eldest son, Indra. Black Zetsu silently cursed the Six-Path Sage, while using his name to continue deceiving Emiya Shiyuan. The Six-Path Sage anticipated that the path of the ninja clan might not be entirely correct. He wrote on the stone tablet a path to awaken the Rinnegan for Indra's descendants, hoping that after the collapse of the ninja clan's order, Indra's descendants would be able to use their power to rebuild the ninja order. Of course, Black Zetsu's words tinged with hatred, practically gritting his teeth as he spoke. Finally, at the end of the stone tablet, he left a way to resurrect my mother, Kaguya. Perhaps the Six-Path Sage believed that if neither Ashura's nor Indra's paths could bring peace to the ninja world, the world would ultimately need Kaguya. The goddess of the rabbit, of course. This was Black Zetsu's lie. The steel left behind by the Six-Path Sage was never intended to resurrect Kaguya. Instead, it warned the Uchiha clan, descendants of Indra, who worshipped power, to be wary of her resurrection. That bastard. He wanted to completely prevent Kaguya's resurrection. To revive Kaguya, he needed the blood of the Uchiha clan, so Black Zetsu had to use his powers to alter the steel's contents. Because the steel's contents had been altered, Black Zetsu was forced to resort to lies to deceive Emiya Shiyuan once again. Is that so? Emiya Shiyuan nodded thoughtfully. Emiya Shiyuan seemed to trust Black Zetsu's words completely. He certainly wouldn't speak on the Six-Path Sage's behalf, so he simply sighed. What's so special about this? A child, having grown up and transcended time, finally understands his mother's greatness. When his chakra spreads, leaving the world in ruins and unable to recover, he remembers the almighty mother he relied on since childhood. Black Zetsu felt a pang of sadness in his heart. If your mother Kaguya had heard what Emiya Shiyuan said, if the last message on the stone tablet left by the Six-Path Sage was to resurrect Kaguya, perhaps Kaguya, her fragile mother, would have forgiven her disobedient son. Alice, this guy Emiya Shiyuan can pierce people's hearts with even the warmest words. Forget it. Shihara. Emiya's casual words aroused Black Zetsu's emotions, and he no longer worried about the Six-Path Sage and Kaguya Otsutsuki. Since the Six-Path Sage left behind a way to resurrect the goddess of the rabbit, it seems we don't have to go to great lengths, but Uchiha Madara doesn't know all this. Black Zetsu finally got to the point, and his voice gradually became serious, as if he was afraid that Shihara Emiya would discover a flaw. Because the Six-Path Sage hid the news of Kaguya's resurrection on the stone tablet, I have some guesses that he might be. The Six-Path Sage really understands his children. Shihara Emiya interrupted Black Zetsu, as if he was addicted to the lies made up by Black Zetsu, and sighed softly. I've met Indra and Uchiha Madara. They have an arrogance that ordinary people can't match. Shihara Emiya sighed, and took the initiative to patch up Black Zetsu. If these proud children really knew that they would eventually need their ancestors to clean up the situation, they would never want to do so unless they really reach the end of the world's destruction. Black Zetsu is such a good liar that he even wants a deceived person like him to help him supplement his information. Emiya Shiyuan has already figured out the intention of Black Zetsu. He must want him to deceive and conceal the fact about Kaguya's resurrection in front of Uchiha Madara. No, don't use this little trick to teach me how to deceive Uchiha Madara, right? Emiya Shiyuan sighed and said softly, if we want Uchiha Madara to help resurrect the goddess of the moon, we must hide the truth from him. That's right. Black Zetsu nodded with some surprise, and quickly persuaded Emiya Shiyuan not to have any more moral cleanliness. Emiya, sometimes concealing the truth and telling white lies to people in need is not a bad thing. How strange. Emiya Shiyuan's expression was a little melancholy, as if he didn't understand this era. The ninjas of this era are also teaching me to deceive and conceal. It seems that in this era full of lies, honesty is also a sin. Black Zetsu felt a little guilty. This is the absurdity of the world. Black Zetsu quickly comforted Emiya Shiyuan, carefully guiding him into the abyss of evil. Emiya, this has never been your fault. Everything we do is to put the world on the right track. When Kaguya is truly resurrected, in this world, you will no longer have to hide yourself. At that time, you will no longer have to touch lies and deception. Black Zetsu's heart gradually became free of burden, and he continued to deceive Emiya Shiyuan. You can be your true self again, and you can truly change this absurd world. I understand. Emiya Shiyuan looked at Black Zetsu and couldn't help but sigh, and nodded helplessly. Please read and vote for me. Chapter 32. You don't want Kaguya to be disappointed. Emiya Shiyuan had finally agreed to learn to lie. Black Zetsu breathed a sigh of relief. He knew that if Emiya Shiyuan started lying and concealing things, he would surely tell more lies to cover them up in the future. This was wonderful. Black Zetsu half anticipated what Emiya Shiyuan would look like when he lied and concealed things, like anticipating the side of a beautiful object falling into a puddle and getting covered in mud. This feeling was truly delightful. Emiya, Black Zetsu wasted no time, immediately leaking all the information about Uchiha Madara, hoping that he could prepare. Right now, Uchiha Madara desperately wants to see you, because Uchiha Madara is trying to awaken the Rinnegan based on a stone tablet left by the Sage of Six Paths. The tablet mentions the interaction of positive and negative forces to create the All-Seeing. The tablet refers to the chakra of Indra and Shihara. Uchiha Madara doesn't yet know that the All-Seeing is the Rinnegan. He tried to merge his chakra with that of Hashirama Senju, but his awakening of the all-seeing power failed. So, he wants to ask you some secrets of ancient times. I understand. Emiya Shiyuan nodded, rearranging the scrolls in his hand. The patients at Konoha Hospital will soon be processed, so I'll go see him. Okay. Black Zetsu felt a little helpless again, knowing that he couldn't change Emiya Shiyuan on this matter. Oh, right, Black Zetsu. Shihara Emiya found that Black Zetsu seemed to have forgotten something important again, so he could only remind it again. The Six-Path Sage mentioned a method to resurrect the goddess of the rabbit. It's the infinite Tsukuyomi. Black Zetsu gritted his teeth. It was impossible for him to hide something like this. He needed to continue to make up more lies around his own lies. The last message in the stone tablet left by the six-path sage is the power of the infinite Tsukuyomi. This is an ultimate illusion that can cover the world. When the light of the infinite Tsukuyomi covers the earth, humans can immerse themselves in the dream world they most desire, and the dream world can satisfy all human desires. Is that so? Shihara Emiya's brows seemed a little tangled. In other words, the infinite Tsukuyomi will allow humans to indulge in eternal dreams, and the existence of the dream world can allow people to leave the pain of reality and satisfy their greed for desires. In that case, humanity may be destroyed because of the infinite Tsukuyomi, but they can also get true peace in the last moments of their lives. What a pity. Shihara Emiya finally shook his head. He couldn't make a choice that didn't suit his nature in front of Black Zetsu. This is not the future we want. That's right. Black Zetsu nodded, and couldn't help but be glad that he didn't use the infinite Tsukuyomi to deceive Emiya Shihara. He just sighed softly. The real purpose of the infinite Tsukuyomi is just to wake up Kaguya. This is the truth that the six-path sage never told his descendants. When humans fall asleep, Kaguya's shadow will appear silently. When humans' chakra gathers together, the ancestor of chakra will be able to descend into this world again. When humans wake up from their sleep, the world will also enter eternal peace under Kaguya's protection. That's right. Emiya Shihara finally nodded contentedly. This is what we want. Under the protection of the goddess of the rabbit, the world can usher in eternal peace. Black Zetsu found that it was not easy for him to deceive a good person like Emiya Shihara, because he had to find ways to tell lies that would satisfy Emiya Shihara. But for Madara, maybe he will prefer infinite Tsukuyomi. Black Zetsu sighed and had to remind Emiya Shihara not to reveal any flaws. Compared to you, you are more willing to spend more energy to let humans live in real peace, and it is easier for humans to enter the dream of infinite Tsukuyomi. For humans like Uchiha Madara who have experienced the suffering of war, infinite Tsukuyomi is the means they want most. Humans often cannot accept the hardships of creating a better future for themselves, and would rather indulge in beautiful dreams. I understand. Emiya Shihara seemed to understand what Black Zetsu meant, nodded and said, so we have to use infinite Tsukuyomi to deceive Uchiha Madara. Emiya Shihara's face was calm, as if he had to accept the reality that he would deceive others in the future with some disheartenedness. When I meet Uchiha Madara, I will tell him what he wants and guide him to join our plan. Black Zetsu was very satisfied with his results. At this time, Black Zetsu immediately revealed all his ideas. We need Madara to awaken the Rinnegan. Only the appearance of the Rinnegan can start the plan. I named this plan the Eye of the Moon. According to the records on the six-path sage's stele, there are quite troublesome steps to cast the infinite Tsukuyomi. Black Zetsu simply revealed the plan of infinite Tsukuyomi to Emiya Shihara. Only by using the power of the Rinnegan can you summon the body of the divine tree. Use the body of the divine tree to collect the tailed beasts of the world to revive the divine tree, and then bring the divine tree into your body. When you truly obtain the power of the divine tree, you will open the Eye of the Moon to cast the infinite Tsukuyomi when you get close to the moon. At that moment, you can cast the infinite Tsukuyomi to calm down the human beings of the entire world and awaken the goddess of the rabbit who has been hiding and protecting the world. It sounds. Emiya Shihara frowned and expressed his curiosity. This plan only needs the power of the Rinnegan, and it doesn't seem to need me. It's enough for me to help Uchiha Madara awaken the Rinnegan. Black Zetsu was choked by Emiya Shihara. That's right, this plan doesn't require Emiya Shihara. However, upon witnessing his resurrection, Black Zetsu was constantly reminded of his terrifying execution in ancient times. He doubted Uchiha Madara's abilities and preferred to trust Emiya Shihara. After all, Uchiha Madara couldn't even defeat Hashirama Senju. Could he have gathered the tailed beasts while Hashirama was still alive? Emiya Shihara personally defeated Ashura and the ninja clan. According to Black Zetsu, his original intention was simply to use Uchiha Madara's awakened Samsara Eye to directly control his body, allowing him to fully resurrect Emiya Shihara with it. He knew Emiya Shihara wasn't in peak condition, but that didn't matter. As long as Emiya Shihara was truly resurrected and possessed the power of the Samsara Eye, no matter how complex his Moon Eye plan became, Emiya Shihara would undoubtedly be able to accomplish it. Moreover, leaving Emiya Shihara absent would be a shame for the effort he'd expended in deceiving him. Black Zetsu truly didn't want to miss the moment of despair and regret that would wash over Emiya Shihara when he realized he'd been deceived and realized the truth. That kind of joy always intoxicated Black Zetsu. Emiya Shihara, You're the perfect candidate for the Moon Eye. Black Zetsu's heart grew more and more excited at this thought, and he urged him repeatedly, "You're the only one in this world who's truly qualified to witness the world's transformation firsthand." Black Zetsu desperately hoped Emiya Shiyuan would agree. No one, not even Uchiha Madara, is more qualified to master the Moon Eye project than you. Only you. You're the one Kaguya wants to see most. Emiya Shiyuan. A sinister smile played at the corners of Black Zetsu's mouth, a strange hint in his words. You wouldn't want to see the goddess of the sun, whom you believe in, resurrected and see a proud Uchiha Madara and be unhappy. Would you? Emiya Shiyuan fell silent. Black Zetsu, this guy, clearly wanted to be the sacrifice for Kaguya's resurrection, but he still spoke as if he could really meet Kaguya. Okay, Emiya Shiyuan sighed softly and could only choose to agree. I'm just worried that I haven't done well enough. If Kaguya-sama is not satisfied when she is resurrected, I hope that we both won't regret our decision at this moment. How could that be? Black Zetsu's face became excited again, and his figure quietly slipped underground. Then I'll go back and keep an eye on Uchiha Madara again. Madara is looking for an opportunity to see you near Konoha. Please read on and give me your monthly votes. I have to ask for your Tuesday read-along. By the way, I want to rush to the new book list. Please give me double the monthly votes. There will be more updates in the future when it is put on the shelves. Chapter 33, The Victory of the Boy Tuanzo. Happy New Year. Lord Emiya will leave Konoha. The Konoha high-ranking officials had already determined that this was inevitable. However, no one could find a reason for him to stay in Konoha. Before leaving Konoha, Emiya Shiyuan had been concentrating on treating patients at the Konoha hospital, leaving behind some valuable medical experience for the village, so much so that even the assistants who had been monitoring him felt a little ashamed. Of course, Senju Tobirama would definitely not have such emotions. Before the lifespan of Senju Hashirama was resolved, Senju Tobirama knew that he was responsible for Konoha, and he would only choose plans that would benefit Konoha. Konoha Village's number 3 training ground. 2 young men stood on this training ground. It was the young boy Sarutobi Hirozen and the young boy Shimura Danzo who stood out in Senju Tobirama's short-term special training. These 2 boys, aged 14 or 15, became each other's final opponents, just like when they were in their ninja school. Danzo, Sarutobi Hirozen looked at his friend and spoke sincerely. Let's stop this fight. I don't want to hurt you. Think you can win? The young Danzo Shimura gritted his teeth, his face filled with humiliation and anger. Hirozen, don't underestimate me. I won't lose to you this time. The outcome of this battle was still uncertain. Was this bastard actually going to declare victory? In the past, he had indeed lost more than he won. However, this time was different. To achieve the final result of this special training, the young Danzo had put in more effort than ever before, and he had mastered more techniques. As Senju Tobirama gave the order to fight, the young Danzo immediately rushed forward, swiftly drawing his ninja sword and slashing. Still so impatient, Sarutobi Hirozen smiled and shook his head. He pulled 2 shurikens from his ninja tool bag and threw them at Danzo at a tricky angle. The 2 shurikens flew towards Danzo from the left and right. However, the young Danzo wielded his ninja sword, sending one of the shurikens flying. He quickly held the hilt horizontally to block the next. Danzo had long been accustomed to Sarutobi Hirozen's exceptional shuriken throwing skills. He knew full well how accomplished he was in the art. Even tiles and pebbles had been honed to perfection in his hands. Everyone had to admit that Sarutobi Hirozen was a true top student. While everyone considered him erratic, they also had to acknowledge his excellent academic performance and solid ninja foundations. Whether it was the most fundamental chakra refining techniques, the most basic physical techniques, the most basic shuriken throwing techniques, the most basic rebody techniques, or even the most basic ninjutsu, this young man mastered them with gusto, never once even scorning the power of these fundamental combat techniques. Clang. A crisp sound of metal clashing. Sarutobi Hirozen's fingers curled into a kune, wielding it to block the young Danzo's ninja sword. His expression suddenly grew serious. Danzo stared intently at Sarutobi Hirozen's face. He swiftly swung his ninja sword 3 times, but was blocked by the kune. You've learned swordsmanship, Danzo glared at his companion resentfully. Just some basic swordsmanship, Sarutobi Hirozen didn't boast. The short kune twirled in his hands, even clashing with his sharp long sword. Clearly, this was a form of modesty. The fact that Danzo's swordsmanship, so proud of itself, could defeat Sarutobi Hirozen was a source of embarrassment, and a wave of dissatisfaction suddenly welled up in his heart. Danzo's ninja sword swiftly attacked Sarutobi Hiruzen, forcing him back. Then, he opened his mouth and unleashed a sharp wind-style ninjutsu at Sarutobi Hiruzen. Wind-style vacuum wave. This wind-style ninjutsu was unleashed with an extremely sinister force. Even though Sarutobi Hiruzen had anticipated this and quickly ducked his head, a sharp, slender aura like a sickle severed his hair. This is too dangerous. The bespectacled boy standing next to Senju Tobirama was a little frightened, watching their friends clash anxiously. We're all friends, the monkey will definitely dodge it. Senju Tobirama shrugged, even thinking it was a bit of a fuss. Ninja battles are never gentle games, they're battles where one mistake can be fatal, of course. Senju Tobirama felt confident. If the two boys in the arena got really angry, even if a fight escalated into a life-threatening situation, he was completely confident he could stop the fight. After all, he was known as the fastest man in the ninja world. However, Senju Tobirama also realized something. Danzo's fighting style was indeed a bit too radical. He was actually using the same insidious tactics he used against his enemies against his own comrades. If he weren't there, if his opponent wasn't the exceptional Sarutobi Hiruzen, he'd likely have been severely injured by Shimura Danzo's insidious wind-style ninjutsu. Wind-style ninjutsu was indeed the young Danzo's foremost technique. Wind-style, shuriken, a diamond-shaped shuriken materialized between Danzo's fingers. He opened his mouth and released wind-style chakra, deflecting the shuriken, swirling with a whirlwind of sharp energy. Earth-style, Tsuchi-Ayubi, a solid stone wall blocked the shuriken. Tisk, a hint of disdain crossed Danzo's face. He grabbed his ninja sword and charged at high speed, leaping over the stone wall and slashing at Sarutobi Hiruzen, who was hiding behind it. Snap! A piece of wood was split open by the blade. Substitution jutsu. Danzo immediately recognized a piece of wood as the ninja's most basic substitute technique. His eyes searched for any trace of his opponent. When was it? Bang! He failed to kick on the wrist. The ninja sword in his hand flew out of his hand unexpectedly. However, the young Danzo's body retreated rapidly and stuck to the wall. He had already seen the figure of his opponent. He raised his hand to grab the opponent's ankle, blocked a series of kicks, and swung his hand hard to throw the opponent's body out. It's really unexpected, Danzo. Sarutobi Hiruzen rolled over and fell to the ground. He was not discouraged. He smiled and praised his friend. Your reaction is much faster than before. I didn't waste the results of special training. The young Danzo responded coldly and took out a kunai from his pocket. His chakra was not abundant. He had to take this opportunity to force a close combat and also take this opportunity to perform his final move to determine the outcome. Wind-style, vacuum sword. The young Danzo opened his mouth and spit out more a ball of wind-style aura that fell into the kunai and gathered into an illusory wind sword. He raised the sword and killed again. Hey, you're cheating. The young Sarutobi Hiruzen stared in surprise at the longsword that emerged from the wind release technique. He could only draw a kunai and leap forward. The two young men engaged in a new round of fighting. This clash was more intense than ever, as their strength had greatly increased during the special training provided by Senju Tobirama. However, the final outcome of this battle seemed no different from any previous ninja battle. Recognized by Konoha's higher-ranking officials as the next generation's finest ninja, Sarutobi Hiruzen, with his mastery of taijutsu and swordsmanship, crushed Danzo's last remaining hopes. At the end of the battle, Sarutobi Hiruzen still had plenty of chakra left, and his fist stopped right before Danzo's eyes. I'm done, Danzo. Sarutobi Hiruzen mostly showed mercy to his companions, using only ninjutsu to defend against Danzo's attacks. To avoid the fight getting out of control and harming his friends, he insisted on using taijutsu to decide the outcome. Hiruzen, Danzo raised his finger, looked at his opponent, and a sneer of disdain crept into his lips. Do you really think you've won? The next moment, something unexpected happened. A black pattern appeared on Sarutobi Hiruzen's arm, and this pattern appeared simultaneously across his body, restricting his movement. Seal of self-binding. A cursed seal placed upon the enemy by touching them during a break in battle. Once the seal is truly complete, the caster can activate it at any time, instantly restricting the enemy's movements. Senju Tobirama's voice appeared in their ears. With a deadpan expression, he explained the seal technique Danzo had used and personally announced the winner of the duel. Monkey, you lose. You underestimated your opponent in this battle. Come with me, both of you. I'll explain your next mission. This mission could very well change the future of Konoha and even the ninja world. There are many types of seals. Orochimaru's uses natural energy and even soul fragments. Shimura Danzo's curse seal is a type of chakra sealing technique, but it is also called a seal, such as the seal of the root of tongue evil, the seal of self-curse binding, etc. Chapter 34 Danzo, you solve Emiya Shiyuan's problem. At the Hokage building, Sarutobi Hiruzen was the first to emerge. The young man's face was unusually excited. Senju Tobirama had revealed a secret about the mysterious medical ninja he had met at Konoha Hospital, and had entrusted him with a very special mission. I thought my guess was already shocking. Sarutobi Hiruzen pounded his fist against his palm, unable to contain his excitement, genuinely shocked by the secret he had learned. That person turned out to be the legendary medical ninja Emiya Shiyuan. For a while now, the young man had been curious about the man's identity. Even when he asked his father, Sarutobi Sasuke, at home, he had steadfastly refused to reveal the man's identity. He had sternly warned his son against curiosity, forbidding him to explore the secret privately, and simply to maintain the utmost respect for the man. For a young man, the greater the mystery, the more curious he was. He could only secretly speculate that the man might be a descendant of Emiya Shiyuan. To his surprise, he was actually Emiya Shiyuan, resurrected by Senju Tobirama through the Impure World Reincarnation technique. As for his special mission, of course, it was to protect Emiya Shiyuan. Although Sarutobi Hiruzen believed he wasn't strong enough to protect a figure like Emiya Shiyuan, Senju Tobirama still resolutely chose them. Emiya-sama's power doesn't require your protection. Senju Tobirama spoke of this mission in a steady voice. Monkey, you and Danzo are Konoha's finest new generation of ninja. The journey of this mission is far more important than the outcome. I hope you two can earn Emiya-sama's approval during this mission, convince him to believe in Konoha's future, and make him understand that in the future, only Konoha's ninja will shoulder the responsibility of maintaining peace. Huh? Sarutobi Hiruzen was a little confused. However, Senju Tobirama didn't say anything more. He immediately sent the little guy out and left Danzo in the Hokage building. His words hinted at a reprimand for his ruthless behavior during his battle training with his companions. Although Sarutobi Hiruzen tried to plead for his friend, Senju Tobirama was stern. He told him to go home and be ready for the mission, and to consult his father, Sarutobi Sasuke. Inside the Hokage building, Senju Tobirama sat calmly in his chair. The young boy Danzo stood in front of his desk with some trepidation. Danzo, Senju Tobirama's eyes were obviously a little cold, making him look a little majestic. Don't worry, I don't mean to blame you for the problems in this battle. Actually speaking, I should praise your quick mind. If it were the Warring States period, you would be an excellent ninja. The wind escape technique you released was quite beautiful. It almost killed Monkey. Even I can't find fault with it. In order to win the battle, you should use any means necessary. Monkey's soft-heartedness will sooner or later become a fatal flaw. The young boy Danzo finally breathed a sigh of relief. In fact, he was a little surprised. Originally, the boy thought he would be scolded, but he didn't expect that the usually strict Senju Tobirama would take the initiative to praise him when he was scared. But, stay gentle with your companions, Senju Tobirama reminded the young Danzo, saying solemnly, you and Monkey are companions, trusting each other for life and death, not enemies. Yes, very good. Senju Tobirama nodded seriously before getting down to business. You've heard what I just said about the mission to protect Lord Emiya. Yes, Danzo's heart was aching. He knew the story about Emiya Shiyuan must be a top secret among Konoha's high command. Being chosen by Senju Tobirama for such a top secret mission at just 14 or 15 was a feeling of being entrusted with a great responsibility. He was even considered one of Konoha's future leaders, and the thought of him being considered by Senju Tobirama as one of Konoha's future was a thrilling thought. Ambition suddenly surged in Danzo's heart. Every child who grew up in Konoha had witnessed the respect the villagers held for the first Hokage. Who wouldn't want to become the village Hokage? In the past, such ambitions were naturally unattainable. However, Senju Tobirama has designated him and Sarutobi Hiruzen as the future of Konoha, so when he grows up, he may not be able to take on the position of Hokage. But, you know the monkey's temper. Senju Tobirama's expression gradually became more serious, and he ordered in a deep voice, this mission requires you to carefully check for omissions and fill in the gaps. Yes, the young boy Danzo quickly agreed loudly. What does this mean? This clearly means that Tobirama teacher values him more. Although Sarutobi Hiruzen is very outstanding, Tobirama teacher is dissatisfied with that guy's temper, and obviously values himself more. Otherwise, why would he stay here specially? Danzo, the burden you will shoulder will be heavy. Senju Tobirama narrowed his eyes slightly. He saw through the excitement of the young man in front of him, but he didn't care about his ambition. You should know that the major countries in the ninja world have successively established ninja villages, and there is competition between ninja villages. Emiya, he is also an important figure, we need to compete with him. Senju Tobirama thought about his eldest brother's lifespan, and his face couldn't help but become heavier. For Konoha, Lord Emiya is an indispensable existence, especially since he also knows many of our Konoha's secrets, including the top secrets. Then, the young Danzo didn't quite understand, and tried to ask Senju Tobirama. Shouldn't we keep Lord Emiya in Konoha? Now Konoha can't control his will. Senju Tobirama couldn't say that the lifespan of Emiya Shihara and Senju Hashirama was related. He could only use some easy-to-understand words to explain Emiya Shihara's status. A big figure like him who has made great contributions in the long history of the ninja world, Konoha can't behave disrespectfully to him, and can't take tough measures against him. However, Lord Emiya possesses the secrets of the ancient times and even some powerful powers, which also makes us unable to ignore his influence on the ninja world after leaving Konoha. When Senju Tobirama said this, he stretched out his arm and deliberately showed the curse seal on his body. For example, the energy of Lord Emiya's curse seal can greatly increase the combat effectiveness of the ninja. An ordinary ninja who obtains it can quickly possess the combat power comparable to that of a Jonin. The young man Danzo was shocked. At this moment, a trace of greed surged in the heart of the young man. The young man quickly understood the value of this power and said in a deep voice, "This power must never fall into the hands of other ninja villages." That's right, Senju Tobirama nodded with satisfaction. For Konoha, we have no choice but to resort to other means. Senju Tobirama hoped the young man before him understood what he was asking him to do. Danzo, your mission to protect Lord Emiya with Monkey is only superficial. Your true mission is but one. No matter what means are used, we must prevent Lord Emiya from leaning towards other ninja villages. To this end, I will send a small team of Anbu to accompany you and assist you. This Anbu team will help eliminate those who shouldn't be there. Yes, the young Danzo knelt on one knee. Very good. Senju Tobirama's expression finally calmed down. Of course. In name only, they were assisting Danzo. In reality, the Anbu were responsible for the execution. However, Senju Tobirama also had to place a suitable person beside Emiya Shihara. He wanted to place the assistant he had assigned to Emiya Shihara, but that assistant had been won over by Emiya Shihara's noble character and might not be willing to carry out such a mission. However, Senju Tobirama had other thoughts in mind. This little thought must not be shared with Shimura Danzo. In this mission to protect Emiya Shihara, the young Sarutobi Hiruzen was the trump card Senju Tobirama truly desired, as he and his older brother held high hopes for him. The young Sarutobi Hiruzen possessed chakra of all 5 elements and possessed a remarkable talent for learning ninjutsu. He possessed a leadership aura that commanded the confidence of his comrades. His leniency, in a sense, was also a form of compassion and kindness. Hadn't the first Hokage, Senju Hashirama, always been lenient with others? Senju Tobirama believed Sarutobi Hiruzen was the most likely candidate to gain Emiya Shihara's approval, and that the young Danzo was merely a hidden pawn, a shady pawn to solve unforeseen problems. Of course, Senju Tobirama pondered the future of Shimura Danzo. Senju Tobirama noticed his unscrupulous nature and saw some similarities between the young man and himself, which he saw as a positive factor. This was precisely the kind of approach needed to deal with the enemy. Unfortunately, the young man's talent wasn't strong enough. The young Danzo's training had strayed somewhat, drawn to powerful ninjutsu, always hoping for shortcuts to strength. In this respect, Senju Tobirama had to admit that he resembled him. His own talent wasn't particularly high, and he could never match the pinnacle of the ninja world like his elder brother and Uchiha Madara. Lacking any exceptional and powerful Keki Genkai, he had been forced to develop strange and bizarre techniques to compensate for the talent gap. Right, you seem to enjoy using sealing seals in battle. Senju Tobirama glanced down at the seal on his arm and admonished Danzo, I haven't yet figured out the power of this seal, but it's undoubtedly the most powerful human enhancement seal I've ever encountered. If you can obtain this seal power from Lord Emiya during this mission, it will be a boon for your future and will make your path smoother. Happy New Year. The first day of 2025. Wishing everyone all the best in the new year, success, and continued success. Nearly 6,000 words again today. During the new book period, I can shamelessly ask for monthly votes again. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 35. These are the future third Hokage and fifth and a half Hokage of Konoha. Outside the Hokage building, young Danzo was a bit nervous as he left. He even glanced back at the Hokage building as he left. Danzo, suddenly, young Sarutobi Hiruzen leaped out. Danzo was nearly startled by his friend's sudden appearance. Don't worry about it, Sarutobi Hiruzen hadn't gone home. Fearing that Senju Tobirama would severely reprimand Shimura Danzo, he stayed behind, intending to comfort his friend. He saw his friend secretly glancing back at the Hokage building as he left. Needless to say, he was frightened. As a good friend, young Sarutobi Hiruzen reassured him, "Don't worry about what Tobirama-sensei said. You can't hurt me." In fact, the timing of that seemingly dangerous wind-style ninjutsu during the fight was perfect. Danzo's forehead twitched. It sounded as if this jerk was the winner. He had clearly won the ninja training match. And Tobirama-sensei hadn't even scolded him. Instead, he'd praised his performance in the ninja battle and even secretly assigned him a rather important mission. Too bad he couldn't tell this guy about this. After all, he had a heavy responsibility on his shoulders. Danzo suddenly felt a surge of superiority. He was the true leader in the mission to protect Lord Emiya. Sarutobi Hiruzen was just a decoy sent by Tobirama-sensei to cover up his own crucial mission. It was such a shame. He couldn't share this joy and pride. "What's wrong, Danzo?" Sarutobi Hiruzen waved his hand in front of Danzo's eyes, a little worried that his friend had been rendered insane by Senju Tobirama's scolding. "I'm fine." Danzo quickly brushed his hand away and spoke in a deep, adult voice, "Let's go back and prepare. The mission could begin any minute." "That's true." Sarutobi Hiruzen stroked his chin and nodded, mumbling something about the situation at Konoha Hospital. "I heard the village hospital is running out of patients." Konoha Hospital was empty. It seemed that there was no reason for Emiya Shihara to stay in Konoha any longer. As a great medical ninja, he couldn't stay in this village doing nothing. He would definitely practice medicine in the ninja world as the legend said. However, the villagers didn't know this. The villagers of Konoha only knew that there was an excellent medical ninja in Konoha Hospital, whose medical skills were superb enough to treat any disease. They were more concerned about something else. Moving. The village of Konoha gradually became lively. As more and more people in the village began to move. As the developer of Konoha's internal relocation plan, Senju Tobirama didn't expect the plan to be implemented so smoothly. Even the clan leaders of the various ninja clans quickly agreed with his idea after seeing the Senju clan take the initiative to change. Times have changed. Other countries have already established ninja villages. The ninja village system is the inevitable trend of the future. They can no longer be obsessed with the gains and losses of their families. Protecting Konoha is the future theme of these ninjas. While this was certainly partly due to this, it was also partly due to the fact that these clans had been impressed by Hashirama Senju's generosity from the beginning. This was particularly true when they witnessed the Senju clan abandoning the Senju surname and allowing its members to fully and freely integrate into Konoha. From now on, there will be no more strife between ninja clans, everyone will unite under the emblem of Konoha. The ninjas of Konoha can rest assured and enjoy the protection of this great tree, and the growth will contribute to its flourishing. Senju Tobirama, pleased with his recent progress, accompanied Emiya Shihara and Senju Hashirama on a tour of the thriving village, hoping that Shihara would see that Konoha's future was more promising than that of the ancient ninja sect. They even sacrificed the Senju clan for this cause. The Senju clan would become the greatest nourishment for Konoha's prosperity. Many Senju clan ninjas would no longer be allowed to use the Senju surname from the next generation onwards. They would choose a new surname for their children, and these ninjas would gradually become one with Konoha. The Senju family name will disappear from now on. Senju Tobirama recalled the origins of the Senju clan and said in a deep voice, "Perhaps it's a bit of an apology to Lord Emiya who gave us our family name, but this is a necessary choice. The Sage of Six Paths didn't allow his sons to use his family name, perhaps to allow other ninjas to integrate into the ninja clan. For the sake of Konoha, our next generation of clan members will no longer be allowed to continue using the Senju family name." Everything about Senju will be integrated into Konoha? You really are. Emiya Shiyuan could only respect this. The Sage of Six Paths didn't allow his children to use the Otsutsuki family name because he was worried that people of that era would know about their family's relationship with Kaguya Otsutsuki, and to prevent future generations from always remembering the existence of Kaguya Otsutsuki, the goddess of the rabbit. Lord Emiya is leaving, right? Senju Tobirama suddenly changed the subject and mentioned the issue he cared about most. He thanked him with a serious expression. Lord Emiya has been practicing medicine in Konoha Hospital these days. Konoha will always be grateful for Lord Emiya's good deeds. Tobirama Senju Hashirama wanted to stop his brother. I do want to see this world. Emiya Shiyuan didn't deny his desire to leave Konoha, even offering a reasonable reason. I also want to go out and search for a way to heal the first Hokage. Perhaps there are still valuable materials in the ninja world that can heal him, at least, they existed in ancient times. Senju Tobirama's heart trembled. Speaking of his elder brother, his words were inevitably filled with impatience. What materials? Where can I find them? The remains of the divine tree. It must be living remains of the divine tree. The divine tree is the origin of wood release, and even the origin of chakra. If we can find living remains of the divine tree, perhaps we can heal the first Hokage, and you won't have to worry about his lifespan. Emiya Shiyuan didn't hide this information, but only reminded him, in ancient times, the Six-Path Sage and the ninja clan cleared out the remains of the divine tree. I'm not sure if any remain in this era. Senju Tobirama nodded thoughtfully. Very good. Another secret. Especially since this is a secret concerning the wood release Kekkei. Tobirama Senju secretly noted down the details regarding the remains of the sacred tree before revealing his true intentions. Speaking of which, Lord Emiya still lacks understanding of this era. As a token of our gratitude, Konoha would like to send Tujinan to assist you. Theoretically, we should send stronger ninjas. However, Lord Emiya doesn't like fighting. Konoha is the strongest ninja village of this era. Tujinan staying by Lord Emiya's side will not arouse the vigilance of the enemy country. This, Emiya Shiyuan hesitated. In fact, if Senju Tobirama hadn't brought it up, Emiya Shiyuan also wanted to entrust Konoha to send ninjas to stay by his side. Black Zetsu always wanted to make himself a sacrifice to resurrect Kaguya with ill intentions. If there were always two Konoha ninjas watching him, Black Zetsu couldn't show up rashly to urge him to speed up the implementation of the Moon Eye plan in order to hide his identity and secrets. During this time, Black Zetsu frequently appeared in Emiya Shiyuan's residential area in Konoha in order to awaken Uchiha Madara's Samsara Eye and to be able to implement the Moon Eye plan quickly. What are you urging him for? He really thinks he is a filial son. Letting Kaguya Otsutsuki resurrect will only make everyone unhappy. Even though Emiya Shiyuan was magnanimous, he couldn't stand Black Zetsu's nagging. Now, Senju Tobirama's arrangement could also save him from being constantly nagged by Black Zetsu. Monkey, Danzo. Senju Tobirama called out to Sarutobi Hirozen and Shimura Danzo, whom he had arranged in advance. Pointing at the two young men who jumped out, he introduced them aloud. Sarutobi Hirozen, Shimura Danzo, these two little guys are Konoha's most outstanding new generation ninjas. Emiya Shiyuan looked at Senju Tobirama hesitantly. No, are you serious? Let Sarutobi Hirozen and Shimura Danzo come? These are Konoha's future third and fifth and a half Hokage. Letting these two little guys stay with Lord Emiya is also in the hope that they will follow Lord Emiya and learn from him. Senju Tobirama was a little worried that Emiya Shiyuan would refuse, so he stroked the heads of the young boys Sarutobi Hirozen and Danzo, and explained sincerely, if they are lucky enough to receive the teachings of Lord Emiya and inherit the ninja way from Lord Emiya, they will be able to bring changes to the future of Konoha in the future. Lord Emiya, Konoha hopes that there will be eternal peace in the ninja world. Senju Tobirama relied on Emiya Shiyuan's kindness and once again used moral kidnapping on Emiya Shiyuan, but these next generation of children will eventually need guidance. Only in this way can the ideal of peace in the ninja world be passed on continuously. Happy New Year! Happy New Year! Chapter 36, The Mantis catches the cicada, while the Oriole is behind. Emiya Shiyuan agreed. Faced with Senju Tobirama's moral blackmail, he had no choice but to go along with it. At least, Senju Tobirama's arrangement was highly advantageous to him. After all, excluding the Black Zetsu factor, the two young men's future identities were also extraordinary. Emiya Shiyuan lowered his eyes slightly, scanning the two young men before him. especially since their futures were inextricably linked to the true backup plan he had arranged in advance. "Please take care of me," the young Sarutobi Hiruzen smiled brightly. "Please take care of me," the young Danzou struggled to force his smile. "Then get ready," Emiya Shiyuan smiled compassionately, patting Sarutobi Hiruzen's head gently. "Accompany me to the village to buy some things today. We'll leave tomorrow." "Yes," the two young men quickly agreed. After Emiya Shiyuan left with the two young men, Senju Hashirama stared at Emiya Shiyuan's back, a hint of reluctance still on his face. "What a pity, I didn't expect it would be time to say goodbye so soon. It's just a short separation." Senju Tobirama's face grew cold, and he mentioned another important matter for which he wanted to truly utilize Emiya Shiyuan. "Brother, there's one more thing I must tell you in advance." "What?" "About Uchiha Madara." Senju Tobirama narrowed his eyes, revealing an extremely dangerous look. "If nothing goes as expected, Madara will definitely go to see him when he knows that Lord Emiya has left Konoha." Senju Hashirama suddenly fell silent. "This is our chance." Senju Tobirama, regardless of his brother's friendship with Uchiha Madara, reminded him in a deep voice, "We've been secretly sending people to search for Madara's whereabouts, but we haven't found him. But we all know that he must be lurking in the ninja world, waiting for an opportunity. Now, this is his chance. Only if Lord Emiya helps him heal his blind Sharingan, will Madara be confident that he has enough power to attack Konoha." Senju Hashirama remained silent. "Brother, we can't miss this opportunity." Senju Tobirama knew his brother's inner thoughts, but in a heavy voice, he reminded him of one important thing. "If we can't kill Madara, he'll destroy Konoha sooner or later. After your battle, he'll be even more hostile to Konoha." "I understand," Senju Hashirama sighed, already accepting his brother's proposal. "Don't worry, I won't let Madara escape this time." "But," Senju Hashirama raised his objection, somewhat displeased. "This behavior seems a bit like taking advantage of Lord Emiya. For Konoha, this is necessary." Senju Tobirama was adept at persuading his brother. "Brother, do you want someone like Lord Emiya to be deceived by Madara?" Senju Hashirama felt a little embarrassed. If his friend Uchiha Madara had truly deceived Emiya Shiyuan, it would undoubtedly make Hashirama, already deeply ashamed of Emiya Shiyuan, feel even more guilty. "Okay," Senju Hashirama no longer had any reservations. The next day, at the entrance of Konoha village, a crowd gathered to see him off. The only missing person from this story was the first Hokage, Senju Hashirama. He was nowhere to be found. According to Senju Tobirama, his elder brother couldn't accept the separation and didn't dare show up to see Emiya Shiyuan off. This explanation was truly lame. Even though Senju Hashirama was a deeply emotional Hokage, he never shirked his duties. How could he avoid something like seeing someone off? But no one cared. The real protagonists were Emiya Shiyuan and the two little ones. Hiruzen, Sarutobi Sasuke patted his son's shoulder, earnestly reminding him, "You must take good care of Lord Emiya. Don't make any mistakes." "Don't worry," the young Sarutobi Hiruzen patted his chest with a reassuring smile. "Don't worry." Emiya Shiyuan's face lit up with a kind smile. He looked at the two teenagers before him like an elder, and said to Sasuke and the others with a smile, "I'll take good care of these two little ones." "I'm so sorry," Sasuke said with a sheepish smile. Senju Tobirama did not say much, but just looked at the two young men, Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo, with a serious look, hoping that the two of them could carry out his plan well. Compared to Emiya Shiyuan's problem, the problem of another person was what Senju Tobirama was most concerned about. Outside Konoha village, Senju Hashirama, carrying a huge sealing scroll and wearing red armor, stood on a tree fully armed, looking in the distance at the direction of the entrance of Konoha village. A group of Anbu ninjas stood on other trees. These Anbu ninjas shouldered two important tasks. The first task was to assist the first-generation Hokage in searching for the whereabouts of Uchiha Madara. The second task was to secretly clean up some other ninjas from other ninja villages who tried to approach Emiya Shiyuan. Everything took priority over the first task. Uchiha Madara was the biggest threat to Konoha. The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. It should not be said that the cicada had long been aware of the danger of the mantis, because Uchiha Madara had been lurking outside Konoha village. Uchiha Madara sought an opportunity to meet with Emiya Shiyuan, hoping to persuade him to side with him and learn secrets of the ancient past from him. For this reason, when Hashirama Senju and the Anbu ninjas set out, Uchiha Madara had already sensed something was amiss and quietly hid himself near the Konoha ninjas. Beneath a massive tree at the edge of the forest, Uchiha Madara lazily leaned against the trunk, gazing disdainfully at the Konoha ninjas and their leader, Hashirama Senju, as if he had anticipated their actions. HMPH, such a display, Hashirama, that doesn't seem like you're doing. Surely that despicable Tobirama guessed I wanted to meet this important figure, so he asked you to take this opportunity to bring your men out to kill me. If that was Hashirama's intention, based on Uchiha Madara's understanding of his old friend, if Hashirama Senju wanted to kill him, he would do it alone, not with this Anbu. Just as Senju Tobirama believed he understood Uchiha Madara's evil nature, Uchiha Madara was also well aware of Senju Tobirama's sinister methods. He guessed that the actions of Senju Hashirama and the Anbu ninja must have been directed by Senju Tobirama. What a shame! A breeze blew Uchiha Madara's hair. The blind gray eye, which had been hidden by the messy hair, was revealed, and the sight made the man look a little terrifying. It was a pity. Uchiha Madara felt a little sorry that he could not fight Senju Hashirama. Even if Uchiha Madara transplanted Senju Hashirama's cells and gained would release and powerful recovery abilities, without a Sharingan, he would be no match for Senju Hashirama. There was even a high probability that he would be killed by Senju Hashirama. Then, let's use a little trickery. Uchiha Madara raised his finger, a strange gleam in his remaining eye. Hashirama, during our last battle, this I couldn't see through your wooden clone. Now, let me ask you if you can see through mine. As Uchiha Madara formed a hand seal, the tree behind him suddenly grew, and a wooden clone slowly emerged from its trunk. This wooden clone, remarkably identical to the original Uchiha Madara, stood before him with a cold expression, its eyes brimming with murderous intent. Go, keep Hashirama away from that important figure, Uchiha Madara gave the order with a cold expression. After watching his wooden clone vanish in an instant, he was forced to consider a truly thorny issue. Next, then there's the thorny question of how to convince that important figure. Uchiha Madara's brow furrowed. He couldn't resort to direct violence, as violence might not be enough to defeat Emiya Shiyuan. After all, the lesson learned from using illusion last time was too profound. The man's soul power, as vast as that of a god, instantly crushed his will, causing him to suffer an unprecedented mental backlash. Even the illusions he cast in his prime could not be his match. As for persuading Emiya Shiyuan, Uchiha Madara was a little unsure. Because Uchiha Madara was very self-aware, he had never been a person who was good at preaching, and he was often even the one being preached. Uchiha Madara turned his head and looked in the direction of the entrance of Konoha village. He had already seen Emiya Shiyuan leaving Konoha and the two Konoha brats following him. I can only try to deceive the other party, please read more. Please vote for me. Uchiha Madara seems to be very good at mocking people. It may also be that he does not take other people seriously. Although Uchiha Madara tried to persuade Hashirama Senju but never said it, considering the problems of Hashirama Senju and Uzumaki Naruto, who are the reincarnations of Ashura chakra, it seems that his preaching is not too good. Chapter 37 Kokuzu, Go and Kill Emiya Shihara. In the land of fire, Shihara Emiya embarked on a journey with his two children. Hashirama Senju, leading a group of Anbu ninja, followed them through the nearby forest, quietly awaiting the appearance of Uchiha Madara. Strangely, Madara never showed up. This left Hashirama hesitant, concerned that Madara might take advantage of his absence to launch a surprise attack. However, Tobirama Senju believed that Madara had lost one of his main Jakaya Sharingan eyes, and that Konoha village possessed the powerful nine-tails Jinchuriki, Uzumaki Mido. Even if Madara attacked Konoha, he would gain nothing, and would undoubtedly prioritize Shihara Emiya. Could Tobirama have misjudged Madara's intentions? Hashirama Senju led the Anbu ninja all the way to the border of the land of fire, but still found no sign of Madara, leaving Tobirama worried. Compared to Hashirama Senju's nervousness, there were others in the ninja world even more anxious. It was none other than Black Zetsu, who had been hiding in the darkness beneath the earth. He had been secretly following Uchiha Madara, vaguely guessing that after their last unpleasant encounter, he might resort to some means to contact Emiya Shihara. But wouldn't that be the method? Black Zetsu had watched Uchiha Madara quietly appear in Tokigakure village, using his main Jakaya Sharingan to forcibly control the leader of Tokigakure, forcing him to order Tokigakure ninjas to attack a small group about to enter the land of water. Black Zetsu was completely stunned. No, what was he doing? He could just go and meet Emiya Shihara directly. Could he still count on these Tokigakure ninjas to capture Emiya Shihara? These little ninjas combined wouldn't be enough for Emiya Shihara to defeat with one hand. Yet, Uchiha Madara was full of confidence. This made Black Zetsu a little confused about what Uchiha Madara was up to. Could he be counting on these Tokigakure ninjas to attack Emiya Shiyuan and force him to flee in panic, so that he could come to his aid at the critical moment? What a waste of time. Black Zetsu could only stare at Uchiha Madara's actions in amazement. He wanted to warn Emiya Shiyuan, but he couldn't find the right opportunity. Because Emiya Shiyuan was accompanied by 2 Konoha brats, he didn't want to reveal his presence to others. At the border of Tokigakure, Emiya Shiyuan remained calm. The young Danzo was not worried. He knew that he had a group of Anbu ninjas with him, so he didn't have to worry even if he was attacked by hostile ninjas. Only the young Sarutobi Hiruzen was visibly more vigilant. Once they left the Land of Fire, their team would lose the protection of the Konoha ninja name and would have to rely on themselves to solve any problems they encountered. Lord Emiya, Sarutobi Hiruzen grilled fish with a branch while inquiring about Emiya Shihara's plans. Why are we coming to Taki no Kuni? It doesn't matter where we go. Emiya Shihara, still writing down the medical records of a treatment in a small town they passed by, spoke without looking up. I just picked a direction. Perhaps I'll find a ninja suitable to inherit medical skills, and perhaps they'll find what I need. The young Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded thoughtfully. So when will our journey end? The young Danzo frowned subconsciously, realizing that this aimless journey would likely significantly delay their time. Under 10 years, Emiya Shihara replied, still without looking up. As soon as these words were spoken, both Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo were a little overwhelmed. For the young man, this number seemed too long. Don't worry, Emiya Shihara put away the pen in his hand, carefully rolled up the medical record scroll, and comforted the 2 young men beside him. If you don't want to travel with me, you can go back at any time, and I will send you back to Konoha safely. How could that be? The young boy Sarutobi Hiruzen laughed, took the scroll from Emiya Shihara's hand and put it in his backpack, and squeezed Danzo's shoulder with a giggle. No one else in this world has the same good luck as us to be able to travel with Lord Emiya for such a long time. The young boy Danzo rolled his eyes at him. What's so happy about this? If it was just a trip of a few weeks or months, the young boy Danzo could accept it, but did he really have to waste 10 years accompanying Emiya Shihara? Don't worry, Emiya Shihara reached out and took a blank scroll from the young Sarutobi Hiruzen's hand, and continued, you don't have the talent of a medical ninja. Although I don't like fighting, ninja fights in this era are inevitable. If you want to maintain peace, you can't do it with words alone. Only by having enough power can you support your ideals. The young Danzo's breathing suddenly became heavy. You are worthy of being Lord Emiya. The young Sarutobi Hiruzen hurriedly sat next to Emiya Shihara, and said without any hesitation, then please give me more guidance from now on. Lord Emiya, it can't be called guidance. Emiya Shihara picked up the pen in his hand and knocked on the head of the young Sarutobi Hiruzen, and said casually, I can't teach you any powerful techniques. I have to see your talents first before talking about other things. I hope I won't let you down. The young Danzo suppressed his ambition. Because he knew that Emiya Shihara had what he wanted, the kind of curse seal that could instantly sublimate the power of ordinary ninjas. Just as Sarutobi Hiruzen was about to say something, his eyes suddenly tightened, fixed on a single direction in the forest. Someone's coming, how is that possible? The young Tuanzo stared in disbelief at the stream of Tokigakure ninjas filing out. Konoha's Anbu ninjas should be guarding the perimeter. How could ninjas from other ninja villages approach? Especially since these Tokigakure ninjas looked so murderous. In the forest, Konoha's Anbu ninjas were no longer there. They had discovered the target they had been tracking 2 hours ago. Hokage-sama, one of the Anbu ninjas, while taking a break, noticed a hint of red hidden beneath a large tree and quickly pointed it towards Hashirama Senju. Madara, Hashirama recognized the figure instantly. As a longtime friend, Hashirama knew his old friend well, and without waiting for the Anbu ninjas behind him, he leaped forward. Hokage-sama, a group of Anbu ninjas followed in quick succession. When the figure in red plate armor emerged, everyone recognized him, none other than the long-sought-after Uchiha Madara. However, when Madara noticed Hashirama Senju and a group of Anbu ninjas pursuing him, he simply gave them a cold look and sped off into the distance, apparently unwilling to engage in a fight with these Konoha ninjas. Madara, Hashirama Senju could only follow in hot pursuit. The Anbu ninjas glanced back at the area where Emiya Shihara was resting and chose to catch up with him. Their first mission was to assist the first Hokage in killing Uchiha Madara, the greatest threat to Konoha. As for Emiya Shihara, the opposing team had Konoha planted ninjas within their ranks. Among them was the young Danzo, who served as their liaison and knew how to leave contact information. There was no rush to return for their second mission. Furthermore, Emiya Shiyuan was formidable. According to Tobirama Senju, Emiya Shiyuan was powerful enough to suppress the Nine Tails single-handedly, so there was no need to worry about the danger to the powerful figure. Lord Emiya, looks like they're up to no good, the young Sarutobi Hirozen grabbed a kunai, his expression tense as he watched a dozen or so towering Tokigakure ninjas closing in on them. Should we run away? We can't. Emiya Shiyuan raised his eyes, his face devoid of any panic. He could sense that the surrounding Konoha and Bu ninjas had already left, drawn away by Uchiha Madara's wooden clone. But the real Uchiha Madara had already lurked around them, following the Tokigakure ninjas. What was this person up to? Emiya Shiyuan was a bit confused about what Uchiha Madara meant. He could only surmise that the Tokigakure ninja's presence was definitely connected to him. Was Uchiha Madara trying to stage some cheesy charade? But now, Uchiha Madara wasn't important. Emiya Shiyuan's eyes fell on this group of Tokigakure ninjas, trying to find out his target from among them. Kakuzu, go! Captain Tokigakure shouted to his strongest subordinates to rush forward, saying loudly, you go kill that man, and leave these two brats to us. I quite like Kakuzu. Chapter 38 Kakuzu, go kill Uchiha Madara. Kakuzu. The name seemed to hold some kind of magical power. At least the Tokigakure ninjas stopped dead in their tracks upon hearing their captain's call, only to watch as a towering, burly teammate emerged. We are Konoha ninjas, the young Sarutobi Hirozen stepped forward, hoping to leverage Konoha's reputation to negotiate with the Tokigakure ninjas. Konoha holds no hostility toward Tokigakure, kill them, the Tokigakure ninjas didn't care. Living deep in the mountains, the Tokigakure ninjas didn't care about the status of a great ninja village. All they had to do was carry out the orders of their leader, even if it meant assassinating the Hokage of Konoha, let alone two imps. A group of Tokigakure ninjas charged swiftly towards Sarutobi Hirozen and Shimura Danzo. Only Kakuzu, who had been singled out, charged towards Emiya Shiyuan. Kakuzu was undoubtedly the strongest in Tokigakure. Therefore, he was always used by the Tokigakure high-ranking officials to handle the most troublesome situations. Kakuzu, clutching a kunai, dashed with incredible speed behind Emiya Shiyuan and suddenly stabbed him in the heart. Emiya-sama, a wave of fear washed over the young Sarutobi Hirozen. Even the young Danzo watched with a hint of horror. Are you kidding me? Their mission had only just begun a few days ago. Both Sarutobi Hirozen and Shimura Danzo felt as if the sky was falling. They couldn't imagine the kind of a questioning they would face upon returning to the village if Emiya Shiyuan was killed. Sarutobi Hirozen and Shimura Danzo desperately tried to rush forward, but they were blocked by a group of Tokigakure ninjas, fighting their way towards Emiya Shiyuan. However, in this tense moment, Emiya Shiyuan's face remained unfazed. He even managed to time the situation and accepted a newly refreshed mission request on his ninja system panel. Time was running out. This request came unexpectedly. There might not be another opportunity like this in the future, and his Impure World Reincarnation state was perfectly suited for completing this commission, as the reward for it might very well be something truly immortal. Uncompleted commissions, 3/3, S-rank commission, demonstrate immortality before Kakuzu. When Emiya Shiyuan accepted this mission, his heart was pierced by Kakuzu's kunai. This moment instantly made many people's faces change drastically. Emiya Shiyuan hidden underground, Black Zetsu couldn't believe such a thing could happen. Are you kidding? Uchiha Madara, hidden in the forest, watched the scene with some astonishment. He couldn't believe that Emiya Shiyuan would be so defenseless against these Tokigakure ninjas. Emiya-sama Sarutobi Hirozen and Shimura Danzo felt as if the sky had fallen. What's going on? Kakuzu, who had single-handedly pierced Emiya Shiyuan's heart, sensed something was amiss. He could already see the dust and debris swirling around Emiya Shiyuan's heart. The next moment, a loud explosion echoed through the air. A figure clad in red plate armor descended from the sky. Get out of here! Uchiha Madara realized there was no point in hiding any longer. He kicked Kakuzu, the assassin who was trying to assassinate Emiya Shiyuan, and then carefully observed Emiya Shiyuan's condition. When Uchiha Madara saw the dust and debris gathering again around Emiya Shiyuan's heart, he finally felt relieved. It seemed that Emiya Shiyuan would not die. Uchiha Madara felt a little relieved. He even mentally despised Senju Tobirama. The techniques invented by that sinister villain were always so despicable. Once resurrected by such techniques, the deceased would be in a state of being unable to live or die. That's Uchiha Madara. The voice of the young Danzo immediately exploded. When Uchiha Madara appeared before them, Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo felt as if the sky had completely fallen, even worse than Emiya Shiyuan's death. Is that Uchiha Madara? Even the Tokigakure ninjas, tucked away in the mountains, remembered the warring state Sira figure, a look of fear crossing their faces. Ever since Uchiha Madara had appeared in Konoha, word had spread throughout the ninja world that Konoha was searching for him. For the first time, they even labeled him a traitor to Konoha. The only difference was that Konoha hadn't issued a wanted order. Aside from the first Hokage, no one in the ninja world could possibly kill Uchiha Madara. Regardless, the fact that Uchiha Madara had faked his own death could no longer be covered up. When the Tokigakure ninjas saw Uchiha Madara appear, their fighting spirit quickly waned, and they even had a vague feeling that something was amiss. What if Uchiha Madara killed someone without a care? Kakuzu, kill him! Captain Tokigakure pointed at Uchiha Madara and shouted, Kakuzu. He immediately led his other men in a rapid retreat. We'll retreat first. The leader's mission is up to you. Don't forget to kill these two teams, abandoning your own companions? How shameless. Sarutobi Hiruzen was stunned by the Tokigakure ninja's actions. Even the young Danzo was shocked by the Tokigakure ninja's shamelessness. It was as if he had never seen such a magical creature in the ninja world before. Who would abandon their teammates to die in danger to cover their own retreat? But it seemed like they should retreat too. The young Danzo hurriedly approached Sarutobi Hiruzen. He suddenly realized why the Anbu ninja on the periphery hadn't stopped the Tokigakure ninja. Perhaps those Anbu ninja in the village had already been killed by Uchiha Madara. If that was the case, they would have no help at all. There was no way he and Sarutobi Hiruzen could deal with Uchiha Madara. Even the first Hokage hadn't killed Uchiha Madara, so what could these two Konohajin do? They'd already done their best to protect Emiya Shiyuan, hadn't they? Hiruzen, it's time to retreat, the young Tuanzo whispered to Sarutobi Hiruzen. Sarutobi Hiruzen hesitated. However, as the two young men hesitated, the abandoned Kakuzu silently grabbed his kunai. The sturdy man looked at Uchiha Madara's figure and charged towards him, as if he wouldn't hesitate for his life for the village's orders. You bastard! Madara was surprised by the Tokigakure ninja's behavior, but even more surprised by Kakuzu's bravery in charging towards him. Are you crazy? Is this guy a complete idiot? Doesn't he see that his companions have abandoned him? Doesn't he know that his captain is deliberately sending him to his death? Kakuzu's gaze remained firm as he swung his kunai at Uchiha Madara. In an instant, Uchiha Madara grabbed his wrist with a single hand. Snap! Uchiha Madara broke Kakuzu's wrist. The kunai in Kakuzu's hand immediately fell to the ground. However, Kakuzu refused to give up. He braved the pain and kicked at Uchiha Madara. Crack! One of his legs was also broken. The gap between the two was too great. Whether it was the difference in strength or combat experience, Kakuzu was powerless against Uchiha Madara. Uchiha Madara raised his hand and grabbed Kakuzu's neck, on the verge of killing him instantly. Just then, at this moment, Emiya Shiyuan's voice interrupted Uchiha Madara's movements. Killing someone in front of a medical ninja is undoubtedly a blasphemy against our ninja way. Is there anything I can do for you? Can I spare his life? Uchiha Madara glanced at Emiya Shiyuan with a puzzled look. Kakuzu's eyes were even more puzzled than Uchiha Madara's, as if questioning why the other was still alive, and why he had let him go. Emiya-sama, young Sarutobi Hiruzen's heart leaped with joy. Hiruzen, young Danzo quickly grabbed his sleeve, hoping his friend would calm down. Uchiha Madara could kill both of them at any moment. HMPH, Uchiha Madara dismissively released Kakuzu's neck. To him, Kakuzu and the Tokigakure ninja were merely tools he was secretly using to test Emiya Shiyuan's character. Their lives were of no consequence. Besides, this man's life could earn him a promise. Uchiha Madara had come to extract information from Emiya Shiyuan in the first place, so the fact that he was willing to make a promise for an unrelated individual was a blessing. Kakuzu scrambled to his feet, limping silently as he tried to leave. After enduring such a humiliating battle and being abandoned by his companions, he didn't know what to say, nor did he know the meaning of his own life. Perhaps the meaning of being a ninja was to fulfill the leader's mission. Wait, Shihara Emiya suddenly called out to Kakuzu. Everyone present looked at Shihara Emiya. Your injury? Shihara Emiya's face was expressionless, and even his face seemed a little dead because of his impure world body. However, Shihara Emiya's figure seemed particularly holy under the setting sun. It would be too inappropriate to let a wounded person leave with injuries in front of a medical ninja. Please read on and give me your monthly votes. Takegaki is indeed a bit sorry for Kakuzu. It's like asking me to fight Taro, and if I can't beat Taro, I want to kill me. Chapter 39. I won't lie, please forgive me if I'm wrong. Why save me? Kakuzu sat calmly before Shihara Emiya. Because you're injured. Emiya Shihara's palm swirled with emerald chakra as he watched Kakuzu's broken bones slowly reconnect. And I just happen to be a medical ninja. He'll definitely be killed if he goes back. Uchiha Madara criticized Shihara Emiya's kindness, casually revealing the truth. Those losers in Takegaki wouldn't consider him a companion. Even with his meager strength, even that small village would be considered a master. Uchiha Madara didn't think Kakuzu could be compared to him, but he couldn't help but recall his own experience and snorted contemptuously. HMPH, those narrow-minded people in the ninja world don't really like others' power surpassing theirs. For example, that villain Senju Tobirama. And that sinister villain Senju Tobirama. And that sinister and despicable villain Senju Tobirama. Emiya Shihara knew Uchiha Madara was undoubtedly slandering Senju Tobirama, but he still felt a vague sense of being stabbed. While he certainly wasn't one to indiscriminately slaughter innocent people, when a powerful individual appeared, no one wanted to be the victim. So they want to kill me. Kakuzu immediately understood what Madara was saying, but for a moment, he was lost for words. He said in a dull voice, in this world, what else can ninjas like us do besides carry out our missions? Kill them, of course. Madara glanced at Kakuzu, his face filled with mockery. What a complete fool. Kowtowing to the weak is a violation of your own life, Kakuzu subconsciously pondered. A normally quiet and reflective person, Kakuzu's mind was never restrained, and he showed no particular respect for his superiors. If someone kills me, I will kill them. Uchiha Madara's logic was undoubtedly correct. What a bullshit captain, what a bullshit senior management, what a bullshit leader. As long as the other party wants his life, he can take the other party's life. But why did this medical ninja save himself? Was it just because the other party was a medical ninja? In this world full of deception and killing, Kakuzu, who has always been good at thinking, could not understand the other party. Tried to survive. Emiya Shihara healed Kakuzu's wounds, patted his shoulder, and signaled him to go. Don't waste my chakra. Humph, save his life. You are really wasting my and Lord Emiya's precious time. Uchiha Madara crossed his arms and treated Kakuzu with extreme disdain. Even when he mocked Kakuzu, he refused to look up and take a serious look at him. Thank you. Kakuzu clearly understood he couldn't afford to offend Uchiha Madara. He simply looked at Emiya Shihara in front of him, nodded in thanks, and asked in a deep voice, may I know your Lord Emiya's name? Get lost. Uchiha Madara was furious, clearly unwilling to waste any more time. His eyes suddenly lit up crimson. If you haven't even heard of this great figure with this surname, forget about ever meeting Lord Emiya again. I'm Emiya Shihara. Emiya Shihara's attitude was completely different. He always treated his patients with gentleness, unconcerned that Kakuzu was just a ninja from a small village. Kakuzu's pupils suddenly constricted. That name? You must be kidding. That was a legendary figure. As a ninja, Kakuzu had heard stories about Emiya Shihara since he was a child. His eyes were filled with disbelief. Almost unable to believe that the Emiya Shihara before him was the great figure legendary throughout the land of Taki. According to ancient legends, when Takaguni was still a small village, a strange curse struck the land. The people contracted strange illnesses from their food and water, causing the village's population to dwindle year by year, threatening extinction. It wasn't until the legendary medical ninja Emiya Shihara arrived in Takaguni that he cleared the curse and cured the villagers of the cursed illness, saving them from the brink of destruction. The village subsequently grew and prospered, eventually establishing Takaguni. The legend of Emiya Shihara spread throughout the ninja world, perhaps believing Takaguni couldn't be without the memory of this medical ninja. Stories of Emiya Shihara's past in Takaguni have been passed down through the generations. Is it really that Lord Emiya, Kakuzu, who always considered himself calm and composed, was overcome with emotion? However, standing beside Emiya Shihara, Uchiha Madara knew no lies. Even a powerful figure like Uchiha Madara wasn't particularly arrogant towards Emiya Shihara. Perhaps, only Lord Emiya could possess such a broad mind. The ninjas of the ninja world had long been accustomed to killing. Even in the era of ninja villages, conflicts were inevitable. Only the legendary Lord Emiya could be so kind. Besides the legendary Lord Emiya, is there anyone else who could be so tolerant and generous? Uchiha Madara sneered at Kakuzu. He had other wishes for Emiya Shiyuan and didn't mind praising him at this time. Go back early, Emiya Shiyuan waved at Kakuzu. Kakuzu stood there hesitantly. Because he still had many questions in his heart that he wanted to ask. For example, why did Lord Emiya appear in this urn? Why could he survive after being pierced through the heart by his own kunai? Why was his body so strange, like a piece of dust and no life at all? What? Uchiha Madara's brow furrowed, as if he was displeased that the recovered Kakuzu was still wasting his time. Isn't it enough that I spared your life today? Perhaps he's lost his way. Emiya Shiyuan smiled at Kakuzu, believing him to be lost. He offered him an idea. If you're truly ostracized by your own village and have nothing to do, why not find something to rekindle your life? What can you find? Kakuzu shook his head, unable to recall. Emiya Shiyuan restrained the furious Uchiha Madara and casually suggested, why not try to save those in pain? Kakuzu was silent for a moment. The man walked away without looking back, as if he had made up his mind. Kakuzu still wanted to return to the village first to test the truth of what Uchiha Madara said, as he had always been an honest and obedient subordinate. If they really wanted to kill him, he would kill those higher-ranking officials who were just sitting there doing nothing but eating their fill. As for life after killing the higher-ups, perhaps what Lord Emiya Shiyuan said was true. A noble man like him couldn't be wrong. It was just that he didn't know medical ninjutsu. It would be nice if he could follow Lord Emiya. However, as a ninja from a small village, Kakuzu couldn't help but feel a little ashamed. He didn't think he was worthy enough to follow such a powerful figure. Perhaps there was another life? Kakuzu thought of the essence of ninjas. Ninjas exchanged bounties for commissions. Perhaps he could find a way to earn money and help those in need, which would be a wonderful life. But relying on commissions was too slow to make money. As a ninja from Takigakure, high-level commissions were pitifully few, and they didn't earn much year-round. Moreover, after falling out with a village and becoming a wandering rebel ninja, making money would probably be even harder. He had to find a way to make money. How boring, Uchiha Madara asked casually, watching Kakuzu's retreating back. With your status, is it worth wasting your time on that idiot, Lord Emiya? For me, is it worth it? Emiya Shiyuan's fingertips twitched slightly, and he quietly collected a black vein. This black vein was the reward for a commission he had received, S-rank commission, demonstrate immortality before Kakuzu to receive the Earth Blade, a unique chakra artifact. The Earth Blade can be used to unleash powerful ninjutsu, steal an enemy's heart, granting immortality, and transform the enemy's chakra, granting up to 5 basic transformations: fire, wind, earth, water, and thunder. In battle, the Earth Blade, formed from different hearts, can be split and used separately to fight. What a shame. If I had obtained the power of the Earth Blade in ancient times, I could have found a way to achieve immortality and wouldn't have to worry about all these backup plans. But it's not too late to obtain this power now. If I'm unlucky in the future and need to experience eternal life again, this power may be my last resort. Okay, Emiya Shiyuan collected his thoughts and looked at Uchiha Madara intently, his words seeming a little hesitant. Speaking of which, I'm not very good at lying. If there's anything wrong with what I said, please forgive me. Chapter 40, Those eyes are the eyes of Samsara. No. What on earth is Shihara Emiya talking about? What on earth am I doing? Why do I believe that Shihara Emiya has learned to lie? Black Zetsu, who was hiding underground, heard the conversation between Shihara Emiya and Uchiha Madara, and it felt like its brain was going crazy. What do you mean I won't lie? Please forgive me if I'm wrong. Saying such words on your own initiative, isn't it obvious that you are telling Uchiha Madara that you are going to start lying? How can you gain Uchiha Madara's trust like this? Uchiha Madara's expression was a little weird. Shihara Emiya, is he talking like a human being? What do you mean I won't lie? Please forgive me if I'm wrong. This great man from the ancient times actually wants to deceive himself with lies? What a clumsy lie. Sir Emiya. Uchiha Madara's face turned a little ugly, thinking that Shihara Emiya was playing a trick on him, but when he saw Shihara Emiya's sincere face, he suddenly remembered the village where Shihara Emiya had been before, and immediately found the source of Shihara Emiya's lie. HMPH, if I'm not mistaken, Uchiha Madara sneered, mocking the man he hated the most. It must have been Senju Tobirama who told you to lie to me when you met me, is that right? No. Emiya Shihara hesitated before speaking the truth. HMPH, it must have been him. Uchiha Madara confirmed his thoughts, sneering, That despicable Senju Tobirama is as treacherous as ever. Alright, Emiya Shiyuan could only sigh helplessly, as if lamenting his inability to restore Senju Tobirama's credibility. He continued, Tobirama once mentioned that you came to me to ask me to help you heal your blind eye. Uchiha Madara's eyes flashed with shock. No wonder Senju Tobirama would shamelessly trick such a powerful figure into lying. Uchiha Madara suddenly realized Emiya Shiyuan's terrifying value, and his palm subconsciously touched his own blind eye. He could even heal his own blind eye. This was the price he paid for performing the Uchiha clan's forbidden Izanagi technique. Due to the powerful effects of that forbidden technique, Uchiha Madara hadn't even considered restoring sight to this eye. But could Emiya Shiyuan actually heal this eye? If Emiya Shiyuan could help him heal this blind eye, he would have enough strength to start a new battle with Senju Hashirama. Sir Emiya, Uchiha Madara pushed aside his tangled hair, revealing his graying eye. He asked in a deep voice, can you really heal this blind eye? Emiya Shiyuan hesitated again, as if he were stuck in some kind of impasse. Should I be able to heal it or not? Uchiha Madara's anger deepened. How could a great medical ninja be so unsure of his own medical skills? This hesitation must be the work of that despicable Senju Tobirama, trying to prevent Emiya Shiyuan from healing his eye, thus tempting such a great medical ninja to deceive and conceal the truth. Fortunately, this great figure of ancient times wasn't a good liar. Even his lies were as flawed as a novice's. Uchiha Madara was both delighted and exasperated. He knew Emiya Shiyuan could definitely heal his eye. Restoring sight to that eye would be a truly unexpected surprise. That's possible. A wicked smile played at the corner of his mouth as he tried to persuade Emiya Shiyuan. Sir Emiya, there's no need to listen to Senju Tobirama's lies. That despicable and sinister villain used dangerous forbidden techniques to disturb your peace of mind, tricking you into lying about your patient and blaspheming your noble character. Do you still believe everything he said is true? Emiya Shiyuan sighed inwardly. From Uchiha Madara's words, he deeply sensed his hostility towards Senju Tobirama. He was powerless to stop him from defaming his reputation. Anyone could testify. These were all Uchiha Madara's own fantasies. He hadn't mentioned Senju Tobirama once, and he'd even offered to defend him, but Uchiha Madara simply wouldn't believe him. Forget it, I can heal that eye. Emiya Shiyuan abandoned the idea of redeeming Senju Tobirama's reputation and sighed, but I hope you can promise me one thing, don't start a new conflict in the ninja world with your renewed power, as Tobirama once did. It's him. Uchiha Madara's hatred for Senju Tobirama grew even stronger. However, Uchiha Madara knew Emiya Shiyuan's style of action and had no intention of starting a new war. He even chuckled and promised, don't worry, if my eye can be healed, I will use this power to achieve true peace in this world. I hope you won't lie to me. Emiya Shiyuan nodded, carefully examining Uchiha Madara's blind eye, revealing the cause of the blindness in a single sentence. Is this permanent blindness from the Sharingan? You used a strange technique that used the Sharingan as the activation price, which led to the complete blindness of this eye. That's right. Uchiha Madara had no doubt that the other party could see through his use of Izanagi, because in his heart he already secretly believed in Emiya Shiyuan's omnipotence in medical skills. In theory, I do have a way to cure it. Emiya frowned, as if he was in some kind of dilemma. If it were in ancient times, I could use the power of yin to forcibly enhance its pupil power, and this way it could restore its sight. Oh, right, that's strange to say. To cure Hashirama Senju, you need the power of yang, which is the extreme of yang attribute chakra. To cure your eyes, you need the power of yin, which is the extreme of yin attribute chakra. The power of yang? The power of yin. Uchiha Madara's heart skipped a beat, and he remembered the original intention of coming to see Shihara Emiya. He remembered the words on the stone tablet. Wait, that is to say, our Uchiha clan's main Jakaya Sharingan has the possibility of enhancing pupil power. This statement undoubtedly corresponds to the content of the Uchiha clan's stone tablet. The power of yang and the power of yin mentioned by Shihara Emiya are the extreme of yang attribute chakra and yin attribute chakra. The power of yin and the power of yang can act on himself and Hashirama Senju respectively. The power of positive and negative countless thoughts surged through Uchiha Madara's mind. It was the right thing to do. This trip was truly the right one. This medical ninja from ancient times casually revealed countless pieces of information, making all his inner thoughts suddenly clear. But, I can't do that in my current state. Emiya Shiyuan shook his head, and his words shattered Uchiha Madara's fantasy. In this state of Impure World Reincarnation, I can't use the ultimate power of yin. Uchiha Madara's face immediately darkened. Although coming to meet with Emiya Shiyuan to heal his blind eye was not part of his plan, it was still depressing to know that the hope of regaining sight in this eye had been lost in an instant. But, don't worry, Emiya Shiyuan's words once again made Uchiha Madara's heart nervous, and his eyes became exceptionally sharp, as if he could see through everything in Uchiha Madara's body. This blind eye has recently been affected by a powerful chakra. Nourished by this chakra, it will gradually regain its power. Uchiha Madara's expression slowly changed. He had noticed, as expected of a great figure from the ancient times, he could even detect, in such a short time, that he had acquired Hashirama Senju's chakra. More than that, when it regains its sight, the power of your eyes will be even greater. Emiya Shiyuan stared into Uchiha Madara's eyes, his voice gradually lowering, as if telling a story that absorbed him deeply. As their power increases, these eyes will become eyes capable of communicating yin and yang, life and death. In ancient times, such eyes appeared in a being revered as a deity by the ninja of your time. I once possessed those eyes. They fused all the changes in chakra properties and contained the power of the universe. Uchiha Madara's pupils suddenly widened. The universe. This was the power of the universe. This is the power of all things recorded on the Uchiha clan's stone tablet. At this moment, the question that had been bothering him was answered. At this moment, Uchiha Madara's confusion was completely solved by Emiya Shiyuan's words. He already knew what the all things recorded on the stone tablet meant. The name of that kind of eyes is, Emiya Shiyuan's gaze seemed to be able to see through Uchiha Madara's eyes to the past, and seemed to be able to see the future slowly emerging in conspiracy and deception. The Rinnegan, a light introduction. Please vote for me, please read my new book. I want to be stable on the new book list. While the big guys haven't started a new book yet, I'll stay one more day. Today is nearly 6,000 words. Chapter 41 Lies Without Lies. Everything was so clear. The hidden truth of the world was revealed. Uchiha Madara realized he was gradually understanding everything. The information he had gleaned from Emiya Shiyuan's words was enough to decipher the secrets engraved on the Uchiha clan's stone tablet, and even reveal the ultimate outcome of the Sharingan's evolution. The power of positive and negative indeed referred to the power of the Uchiha and Senju. The interaction of these forces referred to Hashirama Senju's chakra, which could further elevate the power of his own eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, the Uchiha clan's highest bloodline, to the Rinnegan, ultimately transforming it into the Rinnegan, representing the power of all things. Rinnegan, I remember it was the legendary Eye of the Six-Path Sage. Uchiha Madara recalled the legend of the Rinnegan. The ninja world has long held a legend of the three great eye techniques, the Six-Path Sage's Rinnegan, the Uchiha clan's Sharingan, and the Hyuga clan's Byakugan. The Rinnegan, representing the power of the Six-Path Sage. Uchiha Madara also understood why the Uchiha clan's stone tablet was left by the Six-Path Sage. The path on the tablet was the Six-Path Sage's guide to his clan. Now he truly had the answer. His eyes were slowly evolving into the Rinnegan. Indeed, the Rinnegan is the Six-Path Sage's eye. Emiya Shiyuan didn't hide the truth, but further explained the relationship between the Uchiha clan and the Six-Path Sage. Your Uchiha clan's Sharingan ultimately culminates in the Rinnegan, because their source, the Six-Path Sage, is the father of the Uchiha clan's ancestor, Indra. Uchiha Madara recalled something Emiya Shiyuan had mentioned. Indra, the Uchiha clan's ancestor, had fought Emiya Shiyuan and suffered a crushing defeat, presumably similar to the outcome he had faced when he challenged Emiya Shiyuan. Now, his answer was more complete. It was precisely because the Uchiha clan was descended from the Six-Path Sage that the Six-Path Sage had left the stone tablet with the Uchiha clan, leaving behind a message that only the Sharingan could read. Thank you. Uchiha Madara crossed his arms and thanked him with a haughty look, expressing great satisfaction at having his confusion resolved. It's okay, in that era, these things were common knowledge. After Emiya Shiyuan finished speaking, he took the initiative to explain, I don't know if it would be troublesome to talk too much about it in your era. After all, Tobirama told me that I shouldn't talk about these ancient things, such as the fact that the ancestors of the Uchiha and Senju clans were brothers, and that both of you clans are descendants of the Six-Path Sage. Humph, no wonder. Uchiha Madara snorted contemptuously, already understanding Senju Tobirama's little thoughts. Senju Tobirama has always feared the power of the Uchiha clan. It seems that he is worried that his reasons for suppressing the Uchiha clan in Konoha will be rejected by Hashirama, so he refuses to allow the Uchiha clan to have any connection with the Senju clan. He is just a narrow-minded and shameless villain. What a narrow-minded person he is. He can't even tolerate such things. Uchiha Madara was well aware that if this ancient secret were revealed, relations between the Uchiha and Senju clans would surely ease significantly. Unfortunately, it was already too late. In the early days of Konoha, this relationship might have made him and Hashirama Senju rejoice, as they had found a true purpose in uniting the two clans. But now, however, it was no longer necessary. Having once again completely broken with Hashirama Senju, and abandoned by the Uchiha clan upon his departure from Konoha, he was left alone with his lone ideal. Now, I only have one question left. Uchiha Madara, no longer dwelling on the secrets of the Uchiha and Senju clans past, gazed intently at Shihara Emiya, hoping to learn the answer to his final question from Shihara. Lord Emiya, I believe you can see that the peace of this era is merely a dark undercurrent. I would like to know if the six-path sage left behind any means for achieving lasting peace in the ninja world? Uchiha Madara didn't ask about the Uchiha clan's stone tablet. He knew that after awakening his Rinnegan, he would know everything on the tablet. Furthermore, the secrets within the tablet might even be unknown to Emiya Shiyuan. Now, Madara intended to directly extract the story of the six-path sage from this important figure, believing that someone with a certain degree of goodwill wouldn't conceal anything, and that the secrets he confided would be valuable for him to learn. However, Madara was ultimately disappointed. Emiya Shiyuan hesitated again. He even seemed to fear that Uchiha Madara would once again defame Senju Tobirama's reputation, and so he lied to Uchiha Madara and Black Zetsu, who were eavesdropping on him. I'm sorry, I can't tell you the full answer. Please don't misunderstand. This isn't a reminder from Tobirama, because Tobirama doesn't know the efforts of the ancient people to prevent chakra from being used by humans in warfare, nor can he possibly know the six-path sage's intentions. HMPH, Uchiha Madara's resentment towards Senju Tobirama didn't diminish. He was even a little dissatisfied with Shihara Emiya defending Senju Tobirama. Didn't he have the ability to discern? Although he had always disliked and even hated Senju Tobirama, would he unreasonably blame all his mistakes on that sinister villain? If he had scolded Tobirama, it must have been his fault first. But, Uchiha Madara narrowed his eyes, pondering the deeper meaning of Shihara Emiya's words. Why can't you tell me the full answer, Lord Emiya? I told you, because I'm not very good at lying. Shihara Emiya's attitude was a little serious, and his words still left Uchiha Madara stunned, and even left Black Zetsu, hiding underground, a little confused. There's no need to lie about something like this, right? Uchiha Madara took a deep breath, feeling a little uneasy. Is there some secret that those of us who come after us can't know? Yes. Emiya Shihara's eyes darkened, his voice lowered. The last person to possess the Rinnegan voluntarily gave up his hope of achieving permanent peace through force because others convinced him that humanity could understand each other. If only humanity understood each other, the world would be free of conflict. Ha 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 ha! Uchiha Madara laughed loudly, mocking the people in Emiya Shihara's story. The idea that humans could understand each other is so naive. He's as powerful as a god, but his will is so fragile. Uchiha Madara believed that Emiya Shihara was referring to the six-path sage, who, in ancient times, was the only one to possess the Rinnegan. Uchiha Madara believed that Emiya Shihara was trying to cover up the six-path sage's mistakes with a clumsy lie, but his lies were full of loopholes. Only Black Zetsu, hidden underground, felt a little downcast. Because Black Zetsu knew that Emiya Shihara was mourning his past, this sadness undoubtedly made Uchiha Madara's sarcasm particularly harsh. Emiya Shihara really wasn't a good liar. Perhaps he shouldn't have forced Emiya Shihara to learn to lie. Humans are always like this. The human world is full of myriad things, and humanity's fate is constantly changing. Emiya Shihara's voice remained calm as he recounted the ancient story. The gods who once attempted to completely change humanity's fate with a technique that could change the world, ultimately fell at the hands of the weak in the ninja world who hoped to control their own destiny. A technique that could change the world. Uchiha Madara only caught the first half of the key sentence. A sudden realization dawned on the man, as if he understood everything. He looked at Shihara Emiya in front of him and said, that world-shattering technique is the one the Sage of Six Paths used to try to bring permanent peace to the ninja world, right? Shihara Emiya shook his head slightly, a hint of regret in his voice. That technique is humanity's worst choice for the future. Then, Uchiha Madara's lips curled up. He already knew the answer completely. The ninja world has reached its worst era. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 42, Hashirama, are you worthy of being someone like Lord Emiya? Had Uchiha Madara taken the bait? Hidden underground, Black Zetsu felt a sense of bewilderment. Emiya Shiyuan's lies were so poorly told that it was a bit heartbreaking for him to be hiding underground, but it seemed as expected that Uchiha Madara had fallen for them. In fact, Uchiha Madara didn't feel fooled at all. In fact, he even felt like he had gotten a great deal. Gaining such crucial information from Emiya Shiyuan gave him hope for achieving his dreams. What do you want to do? Emiya Shiyuan seemed to see through Uchiha Madara's thoughts and asked seriously, after awakening the Rinnegan, do you want to use the technique that can change the world to change the world? It's a matter of course. Uchiha Madara's face became arrogant again, as if he had become that arrogant and aloof ninja again. If you know the answer to the question but choose to do nothing, it would be a bit of a shame for your life. After Uchiha Madara finished speaking, he looked at Emiya Shiyuan again, wanting to invite him to join him, because he knew that as long as Emiya Shiyuan was willing to join, it would definitely be a strong helper for his future. Just being able to guide the way was enough for Uchiha Madara to want to invite Emiya Shiyuan. After all, Emiya Shiyuan knew many secrets about the Sage of Six Paths, and he would definitely be able to guide him to use the technique left by the Sage of Six Paths to change the world. Lord Emiya, Uchiha Madara earnestly invited Shihara to join him. Don't you think these times are bad enough? Join me in changing the ninja world. In the future, I will possess the Rinnegan. You also possess the wisdom of ancient times. Uchiha Madara extended his hand, a sneer in his face. As long as we can work together, we can surely set this world on its right path. Uchiha Madara's brow furrowed, as if sensing something unexpected was about to happen, and his words abruptly stopped. In the distance, in a valley surrounded by Konoha's Anbu ninja, Hashirama Senju wielded a ninja sword, slashing through the impassive Uchiha Madara before him, watching him turn to wood. This is a wooden clone, Hashirama Senju said, a bead of sweat forming on his forehead. This wooden clone reminded him of their previous battle, when he had used a convincing wooden clone to deceive and delude Madara into believing he had killed him. Now, Uchiha Madara's wood clone was also making him run around in circles. No, when did this guy Madara awaken wood release? Senju Hashirama was still subconsciously trying to think about how powerful Uchiha Madara would become after obtaining wood release, when he suddenly realized that now was not the time to worry about the wood clone. Don't be fooled, Madara is with Lord Emiya. Senju Hashirama immediately realized the problem. He had been fooled. Madara had used the wood clone to lure him here, but his real purpose was to meet Emiya Shiyuan. This was his trick to lure the tiger away from the mountain. Senju Hashirama dared not stay any longer and loudly ordered all the Anbu ninjas to turn around immediately. They had to rush back along the way they came and get to Emiya Shiyuan as soon as possible. Not only would Emiya Shiyuan be in trouble, but also the two best new generation ninjas of Konoha. It seems that my plan has been discovered by Hashirama. When his wooden clone was killed, Uchiha Madara realized that Senju Hashirama would definitely discover his plan. And he couldn't help but sneered, the action of killing me is still so fierce, Hashirama. Plan, Emiya Shiyuan frowned. A little trick to lure the tiger away from the mountain, Uchiha Madara chuckled and mocked Konoha. Didn't Lord Emiya realize that someone has been following you secretly all the way? The insidious villain Senju Tobirama had guessed that I wanted to meet with Lord Emiya a long time ago, and secretly asked Hashirama to bring a team of Anbu to follow Lord Emiya. They regarded Lord Emiya as a trap to lure me out. Lord Emiya, don't be deceived by hypocritical words. Uchiha Madara spread his hands and invited Emiya Shiyuan again in a deep voice, come with me to change the world. Emiya Shiyuan was silent for a while. This great figure from ancient times slowly gazed off into the distance, where two young men lay bound, blindfolded, and their ears blocked. They were none other than Sarutobi Hiruzen and Danzo. While Shihara Emiya didn't mind the two little brats listening in, Uchiha Madara was deeply concerned. If it weren't for the fear that killing someone in front of Shihara Emiya would upset him, Uchiha Madara wouldn't have minded killing them to keep the secret. I've been asked to do this, I still want to find the materials to heal Hashirama first, Shihara Emiya sighed, as if cherishing his promise. He whispered, it will take quite some time before you obtain the Rinnegan. During that time, only Hashirama can maintain peace in this world, Uchiha Madara was convinced. This reasoning was one that even he couldn't refute. Not even Uchiha Madara thought of refuting it. Although Uchiha Madara believed he no longer cared about his past friendship with Hashirama Senju, he didn't mind letting his destined rival live. He wanted to prove to Hashirama that his ideal path was the right one. Actually, you're not the first person to persuade me to join this era. I've thought about it many times, but I believe every generation has its own story. Perhaps my story should have ended long ago. Emiya Shiyuan's attitude was more serious than ever. A leaf floated in his hand, swaying in the wind. Now, all I can do is become the last remaining breeze of this era. The power of a breeze can only barely move the leaves of this era. The only winds that can truly change the world, only those that blow the windmills. Mr. Emiya, you are truly a respectable person. Uchiha Madara looked at Emiya Shiyuan and let out a long sigh. He realized he couldn't convince him, and he also understood the breadth of his heart, and why he had been hailed as a great man by humans for millennia. Emiya Shiyuan is a person who deserves no respect whatsoever. Even the naturally aloof Uchiha Madara has to admit his greatness. Only Black Zetsu, who was hiding underground, felt a little sad. Black Zetsu began to understand why Emiya Shiyuan had refused and wanted Uchiha Madara to carry out the Moon Eye plan. Was that what he really thought? Hashirama is coming. Uchiha Madara knew that he could not stay any longer, so he could only regretfully plan to leave. It seems that I can only come to listen to your wisdom next time. When he said this, Uchiha Madara's face gradually became serious, and he said in a deep voice, I know that Lord Emiya is not good at deception and concealment, but I still hope that all our exchanges today can be kept as confidential as possible, especially about that technique. I understand. Emiya Shiyuan nodded at Uchiha Madara, sighed softly and said, you and Senju Hashirama are on different paths, but the destination you want to reach is the same. It's just that the way you are traveling is different, maybe. Uchiha Madara snorted contemptuously. Though Uchiha Madara's words were somewhat awkward, he deeply agreed with Emiya Shiyuan's words. He and Senju Hashirama were simply pursuing different means for peace. Speaking of which, it was comforting to be able to chat with such a great figure. Whether it was the wisdom he gleaned from Emiya Shiyuan's conversation, the secrets he learned from his lips, or even just a few casual words that could penetrate a person's heart, Uchiha Madara recalled his encounter with Senju Hashirama. Senju Hashirama had idolized Emiya Shiyuan since childhood, but later claimed that Emiya Shiyuan's ninjutsu couldn't save the world. It was clear that the idiot was clueless. How could that idiot disdain Emiya-sama's ninjutsu? That idiot would never be able to become someone like Emiya-sama. Then I'll take my leave. As soon as Uchiha Madara finished speaking, his figure instantly appeared beside the two young men in the distance. He raised his hand and removed the black cloths from Sarutobi Hiruzen and the young boy Tawanzan's heads. Uchiha Madara, the voice of the young Sarutobi Hiruzen, was a little nervous. There was even a trace of fear on the face of the young Tawanzo. Is this the child that idiot Hashirama wants to protect? Uchiha Madara looked at the two boys with contempt on his face, and said in a cold voice, Kid, remember to go back and tell Hashirama that as a thank you to Lord Emiya, I will not start any war with him during this period of time. Please read it. Please vote for the monthly ticket. Who still remembers what fruit to steam when you have a sore throat? Chapter 43 Promise. Uchiha Madara left with a carefree demeanor. Now, Madara was truly carefree, for he had found his own path, a path so powerful that he could even forsake his past. However, the Konoha ninjas were in a less favorable mood. For the two young men frightened by Madara, for Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo, this was the closest they had ever come to death. So much so that as Emiya Shiyuan helped untie the ropes binding them, he could even see their bodies trembling with nervousness. What happened today? We must report this to the Hokage. Sarutobi Hiruzen's expression gradually calmed. He remembered his father, who had been severely injured by Madara, and he understood why his father, Sarutobi Sasuke, had been defeated by him. In front of that man, even trying to remain calm was a luxury. Even if Madara didn't release his chakra, or even display any aura, the mere sight of him was unsettling. And what's more, fighting that man in this state of mind was a struggle. Let's go back to the village, report today's events to Lord Tobirama. The young boy, Tawanzo, had initially been a bit nervous, but upon seeing Sarutobi Hiruzen's calm expression, he forced himself to suppress his panic and remain calm. If the boy's palms hadn't been unable to even hold a ninja sword, it might not have been obvious that he was simply trying to show off in front of Sarutobi Hiruzen. This was perfectly normal. Konoha's ninjas had always feared Uchiha Madara. Even when he was the founder of Konoha, the children of Konoha were terrified of that perpetually ferocious and cold face. Furthermore, He became Konoha's most formidable enemy, a figure even the first Hokage couldn't kill. After losing one eye, Uchiha Madara looked even more terrifying. "You don't have to worry," Emiya Shiyuan casually comforted the two boys, his gaze looking into the distance. "If nothing unexpected happens, the Konoha ninjas should be here soon." When Emiya Shiyuan said this, he seemed to be unaware of the Senju Hashirama and the Konoha Anbu ninjas who had been following them. He sighed softly and said, "Madara told me that when we left Konoha, a group of Konoha ninjas were following us." The boy's heart suddenly began to beat fast again. Oh no! Lord Tobirama's plan has been discovered. How can they carry it out if this happens? Wait, does this mean that Uchiha Madara didn't kill the Anbu ninjas? Even so, the Anbu ninjas would definitely not be able to continue to follow Emiya Shiyuan. He would definitely be in danger if he carried out this mission alone. Even if Uchiha Madara didn't, there would be attacks from small ninja villages like Kaguya. Emiya Shiyuan, a medical ninja, seemed unreliable. He was hit by a single blow from the Kaguya ninja. But should he stay or leave? Young Danzo was torn. He worried he might die on this mission, yet he also worried that returning would appear cowardly. Fortunately, Danzo's dilemma was soon resolved. Hashirama Senju arrived with a group of Anbu ninja, leaving him with no say and only the silent awaiting of the Hokage's orders. Seeing Emiya Shiyuan, Sarutobi Hiruzen, and Shimura Danzo safe and sound, Hashirama finally calmed down. However, his peace lasted only briefly, until he learned from the two children that Uchiha Madara had indeed been there and had promised not to start another war for the time being. No war for a while. Hashirama was puzzled by Madara's promise. While he was pleased that Madara was willing to maintain peace, it seemed Madara was only seeking a temporary peace. This peaceful time it should be before Madara's eyes recover. Emiya Shiyuan reminded Senju Hashirama, and also told some truths frankly. It will take some time for Madara's blind eye to recover. That's not good. Senju Hashirama's heart was hanging in the air again. If Madara's eyes recover, he will regain the power of his peak period, or even surpass his peak period, because Madara has also awakened the wood-release Kekkei. At that time, Uchiha Madara will once again start a war to destroy Konoha. Even if Uchiha Madara did not have the help of the Nine Tails, Senju Hashirama could not help but feel a little worried, because only he knew clearly how powerful Uchiha Madara was. Don't worry, Emiya Shiyuan noticed Senju Hashirama's mood, and quickly comforted his patient. Actually, the situation is not that bad. Oh, Senju Hashirama's inner uneasiness was slightly relieved. Don't worry, if you want that blind eye to recover, it will probably take at least 20 years. Emiya Shiyuan patted Hashirama Senju's shoulder, signaling him not to worry too much. If I don't find a way to cure you, you will only have 10 years left to live. Even if he wants to start a war, it will be after you die. Hashirama Senju's heart, which was already hanging in the air, completely died. This kind of comfort is of no use at all. It even makes Hashirama Senju more worried about the future of Konoha. Hashirama Senju thought that Shihara Emiya would come up with some solution, but he didn't expect it to be to comfort him that he didn't have to worry about his funeral. How could he not worry? Although Hashirama Senju has always respected others, he is also very aware of the situation of the strong in the ninja world. Once he dies in 10 years, there may not be anyone in the entire Konoha, no, the entire ninja world, who can stop Madara. I'll track down Madara. Senju Hashirama raised his hand to his forehead, fingers tangled in his hair, anxiously worrying about Konoha's future. No matter what, I must find Madara within 10 years. I must seize this opportunity to kill him once and for all. This was his only chance. He had every confidence that future generations would protect Konoha. The only problem he didn't believe would be solved was Uchiha Madara. Konoha's first Hokage was forced to embark on a journey to track down Madara. He would use his final 10 years in the ninja world to uncover his whereabouts and prevent his plans to reignite war. Let's return to Konoha first. Hashirama, accompanied by the Anbu ninja, immediately prepared to return to Konoha. He needed to discuss matters with Tobirama about their future. These two little guys. Hashirama glanced at Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo. Emiya Shiyuan's gaze also fell on them, and he sighed softly. I thought that this era would at least maintain respect for medical ninjas, but it seems that the ninjas of this era act without scruples. I am worried that the future journey will be very dangerous. I will work hard to become stronger and protect Lord Emiya. The young Sarutobi Hiruzen spoke with high spirits, and even squeezed his companions beside him. Danzo, are you going back with Hokage? You don't have to tell me, The young Danzo's face immediately became irritable, and he retorted with a ferocious look, "My mission is not completed yet. I will also work hard to become stronger and protect Lord Emiya," although the young Danzo had not made up his mind. But Sarutobi Hiruzen, the bastard, selfishly announced that he would stay. Is he going to admit that he was afraid of danger and cowardly chose to return to Konoha? Two good kids, Hashirama rubbed their heads, his expression becoming particularly serious. Then, from now on, I'll have to ask Lord Emiya to take care of these two little ones. Within 10 years, Shihara Emiya nodded and promised seriously. If I can't find a way to reduce your lifespan within 10 years, I will take them back to Konoha, a 10-year agreement. The time method begins. Chapter 44, 10 years. 10 years. This is a long time. During this time, a lot of things happened in the ninja world. After the first Hokage, Hashirama Senju, led the Anbu back to Konoha. No one knew what Tobirama Senju discussed with him, but Hashirama Senju immediately made his first big move. Capture the tailed beasts. There are a total of 9 tailed beasts in the ninja world. Except for the one tailed beast captured by the Sand Village and the 9 tailed beasts sealed in Uzumaki Mito by Konoha, the rest of the tailed beasts in the ninja world were captured by Hashirama Senju. Soon, the first 5-cage conference was held. Hashirama Senju sold the tailed beasts to the major ninja villages in the ninja world at a suitable price, nominally to ensure the balance of power among the major ninja villages in the ninja world. When Emiya Shihara accidentally met Hashirama Senju during his journey, he also got the answer from Hashirama Senju why the tailed beasts were distributed. That's Tobirama's idea. Konoha's power alone might not be enough to stop Madara. Now that Mito has the 9 tails sealed within her, Madara might target the power of other tailed beasts. Therefore, Tobirama proposed distributing the tailed beasts among the other villages, allowing them to collectively protect them. Konoha can't possibly keep all of them. After all, the tailed beasts are incredibly powerful. If even one were to go berserk, Konoha's leadership would be unable to react in time, resulting in significant losses. Coincidentally, during this tailed beast hunting operation, Senju Tobirama discovered that the power of the other tailed beasts was far from a match for the strongest 9 tails. There was no need to worry about villages that possess tailed beasts using them to counter Konoha's 9 tails in the future. Of course, the tailed beasts weren't the real focus. Senju Tobirama's true intention was to use this opportunity to drag other ninja villages into the fray. No ninja village besides Konoha would dare provoke Uchiha Madara. Even if Uchiha Madara destroyed Konoha in the future, he wouldn't be able to attract the support of other ninja villages. But what about protecting their own tailed beasts? The 9 tails sealed within Mito Uzumaki prevented Madara Uchiha from drawing upon its power, and he might not have the confidence to confront Hashirama Senju. If Madara had sought to confront Hashirama Senju, he would undoubtedly have sought to obtain the remaining tailed beasts in the ninja world, inevitably leading to conflict with the other ninja villages possessing tailed beasts. This would have naturally led to the ninja world's major villages uniting to counter the threat posed by Madara Uchiha. Senju Tobirama's tactics were insidious. After Konoha gained the 9 tails power, the other ninja villages would not sit idly by and watch the gap between them and Konoha widen. They would undoubtedly be tempted by the power of the tailed beasts. Since ancient times, humans have never given up on seizing the power of the tailed beasts. Because the tailed beasts symbolize boundless chakra and powerful attacks, their explosive power is enough to rival an entire ninja army. Senju Tobirama never expected help from the other ninja villages. He simply used this opportunity to lure the other ninja villages into the same trap. Uchiha Madara is currently blind in one eye. To counter Hashirama's pursuit of him, and if he can't obtain the 9 tails, he'll likely infiltrate another ninja village to control a tailed beast. This will create enmity between Uchiha Madara and the other ninja villages. Senju Tobirama's strategy proved quite effective. The first village to suffer from the tailed beasts was the Hidden Cloud Village. At the first 5-cage tournament, the first Raikage of the Hidden Cloud Village, with his wealth and power, lavishly purchased 2 tailed beasts, the 2 tails and the 8 tails. This, too, brought disaster upon the Hidden Cloud Village. While being pursued by Hashirama, Uchiha Madara lost the power of one eye. His strength was temporarily insufficient to counter Hashirama's, allowing him to control the 8 tails of the Hidden Cloud Village and escape, even strengthening the relationship between Konoha and the Hidden Cloud Village. Unfortunately, this didn't solve any problems. Uchiha Madara was forced to continue hiding from Hashirama in the ninja world. Hashirama was forced to continue pursuing Uchiha Madara in the ninja world. When Emiya Shiyuan, Sarutobi Hiruzen, and Shimura Danzo traveled, they would often encounter Uchiha Madara and the hotly pursued Hashirama Senju. Long time no see, Lord Emiya, Madara would simply greet, his face devoid of the nervousness of being hunted. Even as he departed, a mocking chuckle played on his lips. But I have to go first. Hashirama's about to catch up again. As soon as Uchiha Madara left, Hashirama Senju arrived. I'm going to track down Madara. Hashirama Senju didn't dare linger in the conversation. He had to seize every opportunity to capture Uchiha Madara. His only remaining words were a few words of encouragement for his juniors. Monkey, Danzo, you two have grown up too. Hashirama Senju looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo, who had grown considerably taller each time he encountered them, and he would praise their growth. You are finally shouldering the responsibility of protecting Konoha? Senju Hashirama patted their shoulders, his heart heavy with depression. He knew his lifespan was slowly approaching its limit. Perhaps the road ahead would be difficult. However, Konoha's future had to be entrusted to the young. 10 years. It truly was a long time. For Emiya Shiyuan, he was already accustomed to this kind of journey. For Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo, 10 years was enough time for them to grow from often ignorant teenagers to young men who understood the world. They had experienced many stories. For example, they had once met Kakuzu. It was said that after returning to Tokigakure, Kakuzu killed all the high-ranking ninjas of Tokigakure and stole the village's treasure, the Earth Grudge, forcing Tokigakure to surrender to Konoha. They then spent all their wealth to purchase the tailed beast from Konoha to strengthen their military strength. Later, Kakuzu was wanted by Tokigakure as an S-rank traitor. Later, Emiya Shiyuan and others also heard news about Kakuzu from the first Hokage, but Kakuzu's current situation was a bit outrageous. The first Hokage, Senju Hashirama, heard the news from his younger brother Senju Tobirama, and asked him to kill Kakuzu, the S-rank rebel ninja from Tokigakure village, while tracking down Uchiha Madara, in order to establish the image of Konoha valuing allies and attract other villages to unite with Konoha. As a result, when Senju Hashirama met Kakuzu, he saw that Kakuzu was actually making money as a killer. Senju Hashirama captured Kakuzu in one move. But heard that Kakuzu's last words were to donate his money to an orphanage. Senju Hashirama found out that Kakuzu worked hard to make money in order to donate to the orphanage, and had been helping some elderly people in need. He chose to let Kakuzu go, and even followed Kakuzu to donate a little. This is outrageous. I don't believe a man like that would betray his village for so-called power. Hashirama Senju couldn't help but sigh at the complexity of a ninja like Kakuzu. That man fought without regard for his own life, and he tried hard to use the money he earned from risking his life to help the weak. It makes me feel a little ashamed of myself. You mean Kakuzu is donating? Emiya Shiyuan was a little confused by Kakuzu's change, and he could only sigh. Well, even in ancient times, people who were willing to care for the weak were worthy of respect. Yes, actually, I thought tracking down Madara would be a difficult journey. However, in order to track down Madara's whereabouts, I also met many people along the way and heard many interesting stories. Hashirama Senju recalled the many stories he encountered during his travels and praised them aloud. Even in small countries, there are many young people worthy of praise. The ninja world is small, but it also hosts so many outstanding people. Emiya Shiyuan's eyes were sharp, as if he always saw the good in people. For example, the current land of rain. While returning to Konoha with Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo, Emiya Shiyuan passed through the land of rain and encountered a young Omegakure ninja who sought help, hoping Shihara could help relieve his suffering. This young Omegakure ninja's name was Hanzo, and his swordsmanship was so formidable that he could defeat Shimura Danzo, who prided himself on his swordsmanship. However, Hanzo's greatest strength lay in his poison. Forced to implant a highly toxic salamander venom sac into his body since childhood, Hanzo was able to wield this terrifying salamander gas, even emitting a toxic aura. Similarly, the torment of the poison forced Hanzo to wear a mask, and he was in constant danger of his venom sac rupturing and ultimately killing himself. This was precisely why Hanzo sought help. Unfortunately, Hanzo's request was a bit outrageous. The young ninja hoped that Shihara would allow him to continue using his poisonous powers without the threat of the salamander venom sac threatening his life. I can only help you remove the poison sac. Emiya Shiyuan was confident in this delicate and dangerous surgery, but he hadn't yet mastered the art of altering human genes. While removing the poison sac implanted within the respiratory system was a cumbersome task, and even the possibility of it rupturing and potentially killing both the patient and the doctor, Emiya Shiyuan's medical skills were so advanced that he could guarantee no mistakes. So, I can't use the poison gas anymore. Young Hanzo was reluctant to relinquish this tormenting power. He knew the potent nature of the salamander's poison, enough to guarantee his unrivaled power in the land of rain. Your swordsmanship is formidable, young Senju Tobirama praised him sincerely. Even when we traveled with Emiya-sama to the land of iron, renowned for its swordsmanship, we didn't encounter anyone with better swordsmanship than you, HMPH, young Danzo remarked, somewhat dissatisfied. He had to admit that his swordsmanship wasn't as good as Hanzo's. Perhaps. With the exception of Emiya-sama, there's truly no one in the ninja world with a swordsmanship superior to yours. This was the greatest discovery. Originally, Senju Tobirama and Shihara Danzo believed Emiya Shiyuan's immense power was limited to the cursed seal. However, while traveling in the land of iron, they encountered trouble. Shihara was suspected of assassinating a samurai there. The land of iron. It was a land of samurai. It was also a neutral nation recognized by the ninja world. Concerned with Konoha's reputation, Senju Tobirama and Shihara Danzo decided to act in the land of iron's ways. Danzo challenged a samurai from the land of iron to a sword duel, but Shihara was defeated by a young samurai. Ultimately, it was Emiya Shiyuan who took the initiative. Sheath in hand, Emiya Shiyuan dueled against the general of the land of iron. As the general raised his katana for a thrust, Emiya Shiyuan casually extended his scabbard and sheathed the general's katana, effortlessly depriving him of his blade. The general of the Iron Country was sincerely impressed by Emiya Shiyuan's swordsmanship. Although the samurai of the Iron Country suspected that Shihara Danzo had killed a samurai, the general was determined to let Emiya Shiyuan and others leave. Don't mention those unhappy things, Emiya Shiyuan frowned, as if he was very unhappy about what happened to them in the Iron Country. Hanzo, who had wanted to challenge Emiya Shiyuan, had to give up. He finally decided to give up the surgery to remove the poison sac. If even Shihara Danzo thought that his strength was not top-notch, he believed that his strength was not enough to protect his country. At least the poison sac in his body could ensure that he would perish together with the invading enemy at the critical moment. Hanzo left. This is a man who was born in a small country but also had ambitions. This guy might be stronger than me. The young Senju Tobirama looked at Hanzo's departing back. His expression became particularly serious. I didn't expect that such a person would appear in a small country like the Land of Rain. He has rich combat experience and his chakra is also very strong. The young Danzo suddenly felt less humiliated by his defeat at the hands of Hanzo, but his mouth was still as stubborn as ever. Humph, I just lost to him in a swordsmanship competition. If I could use chakra and ninjutsu, I would definitely be able to use Lord Emiya's curse seal to defeat him. Danzo, you always like to fight. Emiya Shiyuan couldn't help sighing, as if he regretted that he could not change Danzo's mind. I passed on the power of the curse seal to you, not for you to use to fight with others, but I hope you can use the curse seal to protect your companions and the important things in your heart. The young Danzo frowned and looked at his arm. It was during their journey, just as they were repeatedly encountering assassination attempts by ninja from other nations, that Shihara Danzo lied to Emiya Shiyuan to trick him into granting him the power of the curse seal. But he had finally mastered the seal. Was he simply using its emblem for decoration, rather than using it in battle? You'll understand sooner or later. The seal I taught you isn't for combat. Emiya Shiyuan shook his head and said nothing more, gathering up his medical records. Sir Emiya, young Senju Tobirama sensed something was wrong and quickly addressed the matter. Are we returning to Konoha tomorrow? Yes, we are. Emiya Shiyuan nodded, looking up at the overcast sky of the Land of Rain, a country perpetually shrouded in dark clouds. I haven't heard any news of Hashirama's activity in the ninja world lately. I'm worried his time is running out. 10 years have passed since we found the remains of the sacred tree. Perhaps another method of healing is needed. Today's chapter is over 7,000 words. Please read on and give me your monthly votes. 10 years have passed. It is now the 15th year of Konoha. Orochimaru has been born and can go to school at the age of 5. Chapter 45 Jiraiya. Konoha Village. A towering wooden wall enveloped Konoha. The entire village had transformed dramatically in the past 10 years. 10 years could transform a hometown beyond recognition, leaving only a few iconic buildings and scenery to reveal its former glory. Is this really Konoha? The young Danzo's eyes widened in disbelief. Having grown up in Konoha, He had always imagined it as a humble village, but now it had become a prosperous and bustling town. The main gate of Konoha village was also magnificent. Two uniformed Konoha chunin sat at a table near the gate, with registration forms on it, watching as Emiya Shiyuan and his group approached. "Welcome to Konoha," one of the chunin greeted them warmly, inviting them to come forward and register. "You need to register to enter the village. We are the village ninjas." The young Sarutobi Hiruzen immediately approached, volunteering his own name and Shimura Danzo's, and flashed a broad smile at the two chunin. "I'm Sarutobi Hiruzen, the Jonin of the village." "Eh? Are you Sarutobi-senpai? Such a huge change. If you don't look closely, you can't recognize that you are the former senior." The chunin in charge of guarding looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen in disbelief, remembering that when he was in the ninja school, he was often praised by the teachers as a senior, and hurriedly introduced himself. "Sarutobi-senpai, I'm Kanzuki Yun." "Eh?" The young man Sarutobi Hiruzen scratched his head, and his eyes widened involuntarily. "You little brat who just entered the school when we graduated, you are already a chunin." The chunin immediately patted his chunin uniform with satisfaction. 2 years ago, I was lucky enough to pass the village assessment, and I was one step faster than Sarutobi-senpai. "Ha ha ha ha, you are really excellent." The young Sarutobi Hiruzen laughed and praised his juniors, then he sighed with some regret. "It seems that we have to finish the exam as soon as possible when we come back." "Huh?" The young Danzo came over, his face obviously unhappy with his own backwardness. "We just wasted 10 years traveling around the ninja world, otherwise, we would have been promoted to the village's Jonin by now. How can this be considered a waste of time?" Sarutobi Hiruzen quickly poked the young Danzo's shoulder. Although Sarutobi Hiruzen knew that it was the 10 years that delayed the promotion, the travels during these 10 years could not be a waste of time in any case. The 10 years of travel gave Sarutobi Hiruzen a broader vision. This young man would no longer play and have fun like he did in his childhood. He even tried to learn to stand in the position of Senju Hashirama and Senju Tobirama and think about what the future of Konoha should be like and what kind of relationship they should maintain with other major ninja villages. The most important thing is that their strength has also made great progress. Shimura Danzo also possessed the combat power of a Jonin during these 10 years. What's more, Sarutobi Hiruzen, who mastered the changes in the nature of 5 types of chakra, his strength really made a qualitative leap after he obtained the curse seal of natural energy, because Emiya Shiyuan's curse seal greatly improved the power of the technique. To be honest, Sarutobi Hiruzen even had the confidence to defeat his father Sarutobi Sasuke. It's indeed a waste of time, however. The chunin who was in charge of guarding the gate was very much in agreement with the words of the young Danzo, and mentioned several of Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo's contemporaries. Tatsune Katsuki and Mito Kato and Senpai have long been promoted to Jonin, and even Maruboshi Kosuke Senpai was once a Jonin, but Maruboshi Kosuke Senpai made a mistake before the chunin who was guarding the gate knew a lot of gossip, and whispered a story about their contemporaries. Now it seems that he has been demoted and became a Jonin again. He also refused to take part in the chunin exams and has been a Jonin in the village all this time. Kosuke, Sarutobi Hiruzen frowned. Sarutobi Hiruzen did not intend to ask too much for the time being. After registering the information, he planned to accompany Emiya Shiyuan to the Hokage building to report. "This one hasn't registered yet." Another chunin blocked their way, pointed at Emiya Shiyuan, who looked about the same age as them, and asked curiously, "Is he also a ninja in the village?" "No. This gentleman is an honored guest of the village." Sarutobi Hiruzen shook his head seriously, registered a false name on it, and introduced again in a deep voice, "He is a guest more distinguished than anyone else. Then you can take the guest to have a good sightseeing in the village." After examining the ninja registration books carried by Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo, the chunin sighed softly, "Your information and photos need updating. If we weren't here, other chunin seniors we're not familiar with might not recognize you. Speaking of which, perhaps after you enter the village, you might not recognize the old Konoha. The village has changed a lot over the years, compared to the surrounding areas. Konoha village has changed even more. The houses lining the streets of Konoha are no longer so simple and sloppy. Even the architectural style has changed. The walls are painted in a variety of colors, no longer the simple light green and brown. More and more shops are lining the streets. If you look at it, Konoha's scenery can be described as vibrant and beautiful. Surrounded by a group of low mountains, dense green trees are interspersed with colorful houses. From the neat streets, you can see the red Hokage building and the rock statue of the first Hokage, Senju Hashirama, carved into the back of the building. Compared to Konoha, which was first built 10 years ago, Konoha now resembles a truly great ninja village, even a small city-state. It's hard to imagine its humble past. Those who grew up in Konoha might not notice this change. Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo, 10 years removed from Konoha, were struck by the transformation of their hometown. "I can't believe it," young Sarutobi Hiruzen said, leaping onto a tall well tower and surveying the scenery. "Konoha has changed so much in 10 years, young Danzo nodded. "Time flies." Emiya Shiyuan seemed to see the test of time in Konoha's transformation. He knew that Konoha's future would be even more prosperous than it was now. In contrast to the changing scenery, the village seemed to be growing larger. Perhaps due to Konoha's fame, many people had relocated there, becoming residents, and the number of children in the village had also increased. The streets were full of children running and playing, and there was even a little white-haired kid who rushed over recklessly, about to bump into Emiya Shiyuan. However, Emiya Shiyuan stretched out his palm slightly, and a breeze enveloped the little guy's body, allowing the reckless kid to stay safely in place. "Hey, is this a ninjutsu?" The white-haired kid stroked the breeze around him with some curiosity. He looked up at Emiya Shiyuan, who was standing in front of him. "Are you a senior ninja from the village?" "No." Emiya Shiyuan shook his head. "There are ninjas from outside breaking in." The white-haired kid immediately shouted loudly to his friends behind him, completely ignoring the fact that he was still under the other party's control, and shouted, "Go call the seniors in the village. I found an enemy who sneaked into the village." A group of little guys shouted loudly in panic. Emiya Shiyuan's expression became silent. Bang! The young man Sarutobi Hiruzen jumped down, tapped the white-haired kid on the head with his fingers, chuckled and teased, "Haha, you little brat have poor eyesight. You actually pick someone who looks the least like an enemy." "What?" The white-haired kid pouted unhappily. "Does this sir look like a bad guy?" The young man Sarutobi Hiruzen patted the little guy on the head, motioning him to get to know Emiya Shiyuan in front of him. "Kid, the person standing in front of you is the greatest person in the ninja world. Even if you just look at your face, he can't be a bad guy at all. If you talk about appearance, the young man Danzo standing next to him looks more like a bad guy. Even Sarutobi Hiruzen, who looks very friendly, can't compare to Emiya Shiyuan, because he thinks he does not have the compassionate temperament emanating from Emiya Shiyuan. Which clan are you from? What's your name?" The young man Sarutobi Hiruzen stroked the little guy's white hair curiously. Emiya Shiyuan's eyes drooped slightly. The little guy with white hair and red marks on his face under the corners of his eyes vaguely looked like an old friend from the future. The white-haired kid put on an extremely arrogant posture, clenched his fist and raised his thumb up, pointing it at himself backwards, and gave himself a series of lame adjectives. "I am the one who has fascinated countless beauties in the ninja world, the most handsome, generous, free, talented and gifted genius boy in the ninja world, the future #1 in Konoha Ninja School, and the future most powerful ninja in Konoha, Jiraiya." The young Sarutobi Hiruzen was stunned. Because he had never seen such a shameless kid. Even when he was a teenager, he was also impetuous, and he could not be as narcissistic as this kid. However, Emiya Shiyuan was silent for a while, and his words angered the arrogant and narcissistic white-haired kid. After talking so much, the kid's mouth will be dry, right? It seems that Jiraiya was very narcissistic when he sought Tsunade. He had no reserve at all. When he sought Tsunade, he just said, "Give me a love letter later." Does he really have a lot of people chasing him in the ninja school? Chapter 46, Emiya Shiyuan's Secret. It's not about whether your mouth is dry or not. Is it your own business now? Just as little Jiraiya was about to yell a retort, Sarutobi Hiruzen raised his hand to hold his head down, even taking him and the other children to the store to buy a cup of chestnut juice. Alright, I'm a ninja from the village." Sarutobi Hiruzen gently stroked little Jiraiya's white hair and handed him the chestnut juice. He then struck up a small conversation with the children. "It sounds like you haven't even gone to the village ninja school yet. Are you not 5 yet?" "I'm already 5, little Jiraiya," clutching the chestnut juice in his arms, shouted in disapproval. "You can enroll this year. I'm sure you'll pass the entrance exam," it had to be said. Sarutobi Hiruzen was quite approachable. No, it should be said that Sarutobi Hiruzen wasn't arrogant. He was willing to put aside his pride and mingle with the children, quickly earning their respect. Especially when the children heard that Sarutobi Hiruzen was a ninja with 10 years of experience, their eyes were filled with admiration. The young man, Danzo gave Tobirama a disdainful look. What they needed to do now was to hurry to the Hokage building to report, rather than dawdling here with these little kids. Ninjas weren't just playing house with children. Fortunately, Tobirama didn't waste too much time. He simply took the opportunity to inquire from these little guys about the changes in the village. It seemed that Konoha was preparing to elect the second Hokage recently. It seemed that the first Hokage's health was indeed not good. Coincidentally, the people who came to greet them had arrived. Upon learning that Emiya Shiyuan and his group had returned to Konoha, Senju Tobirama immediately sent someone to greet them. However, he was also well aware of what Emiya Shiyuan and his group had gained, as Senju Tobirama often sent people to communicate with Emiya Shiyuan and others. As expected, even Lord Emiya hasn't found the remains of the sacred tree. When Senju Tobirama saw Emiya Shiyuan, his face did not show any particular disappointment, because he had also privately sent people to look for the remains of the sacred tree. In the past 10 years, all the Anbu ninjas in Konoha had been asked to carry out the task of finding the remains of the sacred tree, but they never knew what the remains of the sacred tree were. The things they found were often strange, and they usually tried to transport back some strange flowers and trees. Unfortunately, they were not the remains of the sacred tree after all. When a person has been disappointed too many times, it is really impossible to have any hope for the future, even for someone like Senju Tobirama. It seems that the remains of the sacred tree have been cleared out by the ninja clan. Emiya Shiyuan sighed, feeling a little disappointed that his journey had been fruitless, even though the most important goal of this 10-year journey had been achieved. Then, is there no other way? Senju Tobirama frowned and waved his hand for everyone else to leave. A rare hint of heaviness appeared in his expression. Lord Emiya, my elder brother's physical condition has become unusually active recently. He looks full of life, but I am worried that his life is on the verge of death, because this year he will not leave Konoha to look for Madara's whereabouts, as usual. Senju Hashirama never stayed in Konoha for too long. He was always in the ninja world tracking down the whereabouts of Uchiha Madara, and he rarely came back even when his juniors were born. However, this year, Senju Hashirama's behavior became very strange. Since he returned to Konoha, he no longer went out. It's okay that he likes gambling, but he even takes his granddaughter to gamble with him every day. This is not normal. Anyone can sense the weirdness of the situation. His body is like a tree. Emiya Shiyuan, having anticipated Senju Hashirama's condition, whispered, on the surface, he always appears vibrant, even every leaf is lush green. However, this tree drains its own life force to maintain its evergreen, and his power has remained at its peak ever since. This is precisely why he can never return to his normal state. His unparalleled healing ability makes him invincible. The unrestrained growth and division of his cells consumes his lifespan, carrying him to the end of his life with immense power. A tree of longevity, withering and flourishing once a year is the norm. Humans, like trees, can never remain lush. As I have said before, both the remains of the sacred tree and the power of Yang are external forces forcibly supplementing his lifespan, maintaining this vigorous state. Is there really no other way? Senju Tobirama's eyes dimmed slightly. Senju Tobirama had done much in the past 10 years to ensure Konoha's continued survival after his elder brother's death. But his elder brother had always taken care of and protected him since he was a child, making even someone as cold-hearted as Senju Tobirama somewhat unable to bear the pain of losing a loved one. Emiya Shiyuan fell silent. However, Emiya Shiyuan's silence made Senju Tobirama realize something, because he knew that if Emiya Shiyuan truly was powerless, he would definitely confess. Sir Emiya, Senju Tobirama said in a deep voice, wanting to ask Emiya Shiyuan, even though he already had some suspicions in his heart, and his heart couldn't help but beat a little faster. Sir, there must be a way for you to save my elder brother's life, right? I can't be sure, because it's not a medical method. Emiya Shiyuan chose not to speak directly, and was even reluctant to tell Senju Tobirama, this is a last resort, with a high probability of failure. I can't tell you either, because it is a top secret of the pure land of the underworld, a secret concerning the dead. Senju Tobirama's face suddenly changed. As the person who developed the Impure World Reincarnation technique, Senju Tobirama was also well versed in the destination of the souls of the dead. He knew that the souls of the dead usually return to the underworld. But the underworld isn't just about the dead. This information about the underworld comes from the Uzumaki clan. As distant relatives of the Uzumaki clan, the Senju clan maintains close communication with the Uzumaki clan and has always been a mutually dependent alliance. Senju Tobirama, who has devoted his life to studying mysterious techniques, naturally also studied the Uzumaki clan's forbidden techniques. From these techniques, he learned that strange shinigami exist in the underworld. Senju Tobirama also knew that the Uzumaki clan's powerful members could borrow the power of shinigami, exchanging their own souls for a strange Shiki Fujin technique, which could seal powerful enemies within the bodies of shinigami. This Shiki Fujin technique was also the nemesis of the Impure World Reincarnation technique, as it sealed a person's soul within the body of a shinigami. Naturally, the Impure World Reincarnation technique could not summon such a sealed soul. As the founder of the Impure World Reincarnation technique, Senju Tobirama understood something about the mysteries of the dead, and his curiosity about the pure land of the underworld was no less than anyone else's. Senju Tobirama's power couldn't reach the underworld, but he longed to learn more of its secrets, driven by his tendency to keep everything within his grasp. I think I can still help, right? Senju Tobirama's brow furrowed slightly, and he spoke casually. If it's the pure land of the underworld, I at least have some understanding. For example, I was able to resurrect Emiya because I can channel his soul, because Emiya's soul returned to the pure land of the underworld after death. Some of the souls of the deceased aren't in the pure land, but within the bodies of the death gods of the underworld. Their souls are sealed within the death gods, unable to return. Emiya Shiyuan's eyes flickered slightly. How dare Senju Tobirama say such a thing? Is disturbing the peace of the dead a good thing? Does he think that maintaining the Impure World Reincarnation technique won't harm the deceased's soul? If his own soul power weren't so strong, perhaps any other Impure World Reincarnation would have been sealed in a coffin and slept long ago to prevent any problems with their souls. This guy is truly a genius, having even researched the shinigami of the underworld. Unfortunately, his ultimate tactic didn't come from the shinigami. Emiya Shiyuan doesn't care about the shinigami feared by humans. Having gained the power of the six paths, Emiya Shiyuan's soul and chakra are no longer confined to the underworld. His soul can even move freely. Naturally, this brings him into contact with the shinigami. The shinigami, who are supposed to control souls, are completely unconscious. This shinigami of the underworld can't even perform the most basic soul harvesting rituals. Occasionally encountering the spirit of Emiya Shiyuan, he'll charge at them, only to be beaten and instinctively flee. The next time he encounters Emiya Shiyuan, he'll rush at them again, completely clueless. No wonder this mindless existence often leads to the shinigami's power being exploited by mortal ninja. While exploited by these ninja, it's a rare opportunity for them to reap souls. However, their lack of consciousness is truly their greatest flaw. The ninja world is filled with geniuses. Sooner or later, someone will devise a way to escape the shinigami. It's likely that someone will soon master the art of exploiting the shinigami and perfectly escaping their fate. You even know about the existence of the death god of the underworld. Emiya Shiyuan sighed deeply and whispered, but the death god doesn't save lives, isn't it the death god? Could it be? Senju Tobirama's curiosity grew even more intense. Don't try to pry secrets from me. Emiya Shiyuan frowned, his expression growing serious. In the past 10 years of this era, I've witnessed too much deception and concealment. There are some secrets that simply cannot be revealed. I will only tell Hashirama, even Hashirama, who is on the verge of death. No matter what, I can't tell anyone else who is alive, because this is my last test. Emiya Shiyuan's eyes were dead. This was his final test of the god between life and death. Please read on and vote. Yes, Emiya Shiyuan can defeat the death god of the ninja world. Not only can he, but he has even defeated him. There's also the question of Impure World Reincarnation. I believe that while the body of an Impure World Reincarnated is sealed in a coffin, the soul remains dormant. Another 6,000 words today. Chapter 47, Play or Not. Play or not. Between life and death. Between the pure land of the underworld and the mortal ninja world. In this region dwell many strange and bizarre souls. Some hold regrets in the mortal world, yet they have yet to be liberated. Others have yet to leave their final words to those bound to them in this world. For various reasons, these souls remain here, unable to escape, unable to return to the living world. Only when they achieve spiritual liberation will they journey to the underworld. Within this chasm, these souls await the death and ascension of those in the mortal world who could liberate them. Like dim candlelight, they linger in their respective regions, lonely and isolated. These souls appear close to one another, yet they seem separated by a vast expanse, forever unable to approach. They never know that there are so many souls like them. Of course, within this gulf between life and death, only a faintly luminous figure hovers above. This figure sits in the void, eyes closed, clad in a white ninja robe, carrying a monk's staff. 9 pitch-black spheres hover beneath them. The Sage of Six Paths. Or rather, this is the remnant of his chakra. As a legendary deity from ancient times, the Six Paths Sage, inheriting a portion of the Otsutsuki bloodline, possessed true godlike power. Even at the end of his life, his chakra drifted through the mortal realm, stubbornly protecting the ninja world. It was precisely because of the Six Paths Sage's lingering chakra that Shihara Emiya constantly guarded, wary of his reappearance in the real world to disrupt his plans. In ancient times, Shihara Emiya chose to disguise himself as a truly kind and wise man, establishing a medical ninja path greater than the shinobi sect's slogans. This was done through the use of righteousness to deceive the Six Paths Sage. After all, the Six Paths Sage defied common sense. Until he truly believed he could rival the Six Paths Sage, he chose not to engage him rashly, and he never even met him. During his lifetime, the Six Paths Sage longed to meet Shihara Emiya. However, Shihara Emiya never appeared before him. Even when Gamamaru, the Sage of the Six Paths, offered him help, Shihara refused, citing the need to heal. It wasn't until after the Sage's death that Shihara Emiya took the risk of stealing his remains. This was the only time Shihara Emiya and the Sage ever met. Shihara even acted without hesitation to resolve the situation, destroying the shinobi clan for the sake of the world, then repenting and reviving the shinobi clan members in response to Shihara's words. This was certainly done to deceive Black Zetsu, but even more so to deceive the Sage of the Six Paths. Shihara Emiya died. After his death, his chakra became powerful enough to allow his soul to freely wander between the pure land of the underworld and the gap between life and death. Shihara Emiya's soul repeatedly observed the remnants of the Six Paths Sage's chakra drifting between life and death, but he never approached, fearing detection. Occasionally, he even offered to help trapped souls return to the underworld. Sometimes, Shihara Emiya felt like a good person. From ancient times until the present, whenever questioned, Emiya Shihara could confidently claim he had never committed a single evil deed. Even the good deeds performed by the Six Paths Sage and his descendants combined far surpassed his own. The occasional killing of a person was merely a punishment for the disordered order. After all, Emiya Shihara didn't consider himself a particularly virtuous person. Those who committed numerous evil deeds and confronted him were undoubtedly dissatisfied with their current lives and wanted to be reborn as human beings. For any reason, Emiya Shihara's action shouldn't alarm the Six Paths Sage, but he still needed to exercise extra caution. After all, Emiya Shihara was a time traveler. As a time traveler in this unfamiliar world, he couldn't be more cautious. He needed to devise a final test to see if the Six Paths Sage would be concerned about a minor misdeed by an ancient being like him, millennia later. Hashirama Senju. This man, nearing the end of his life, was the perfect person to test the Six Paths Sage's heart. If the Six Paths Sage had worried about him, a person possessing the power of the Six Paths, and intervened in the real world, he would have surely saved Hashirama Senju from his near death. If the Six Paths Sage remained indifferent to the real world, solely focused on Kaguya Otsutsuki's resurrection, then Hashirama Senju would have died. Of course. Judging from Hashirama Senju's condition, the first Hokage of Konoha was still full of energy, not at all like someone nearing the end of his life. When Emiya Shihara arrived at Hashirama Senju's home, he saw him playing dice with a plump, white girl. A mat was spread on the floor. Hashirama Senju sat cross-legged, perfectly still. The first Hokage's expression was serious, even more so than when he battled Uchiha Madara. He held a set of dice tightly in his hands. Tsunade, big or small, the little girl sitting across from Hashirama Senju was also extremely serious, biting her fingers with her teeth, looking troubled before she put her New Year's money aside. Big, then I'll open it. Hashirama flipped the dice cup open with one hand. The 3 dice underneath had a single dot on them. 3 ones, small. Hashirama couldn't help but laugh, as if winning against a child brought him immense satisfaction. Ha ha ha, Tsuna-chan, you lost again. Grandpa cheated, the little girl pouted in dissatisfaction. Grandpa didn't cheat. Hashirama spread his hands to indicate he had done nothing, rubbing her forehead with a chuckle. Tsuna-chan, once you're at the gambling table, you have to accept any outcome. We chose to gamble, and if we lose, we have to accept the outcome, but I've never won once. The little girl's face tinged with anger, discontent with Hashirama's gambling philosophy. I've been learning for ages, and the dice are just making small noises. So how come I still lose? Maybe it's just luck, Hashirama said with a look of deep satisfaction. Because Hashirama Senju knew he hadn't cheated, he noticed his luck was always exceptionally good when gambling with his granddaughter. For a gambler, there's nothing more satisfying than facing an opponent with exceptionally bad luck. However, Tsunade, who was experiencing such bad luck, seemed to be in a bad mood as well. Hashirama Senju knew his granddaughter well. He picked up a wad of money from the mat and handed it to Tsunade, saying with a smile, "This is money I'm lending you. I won't charge you interest. Now you have money, do you want to continue playing?" "Yes." Tsunade immediately beamed and began counting the money. As Tobirama Senju saw this, his expression shifted, sometimes grim, sometimes relieved. As the older brother he had admired since childhood, Tobirama Senju didn't want to see his eldest brother acting so unruly with his children. However, he also knew that his eldest brother's life was nearing its end, and he didn't want to interrupt his only joy. Senju Hashirama, sensing someone's presence, turned and saw Tobirama Senju and Shihara Emiya. His eyes lit up. "Is Emiya-sama back?" Hashirama was delighted to see Shihara Emiya. They had often run into each other in various parts of the ninja world over the past 10 years, and they were old acquaintances. He quickly beckoned Shihara Emiya to sit over and introduced the young girl sitting across from him. "This is Tsuna-chan, Tsunade, my granddaughter." Hashirama furtively glanced at Tsunade, who was still counting her money, and whispered in Shihara Emiya's ear, "Tsuna-chan has bad luck. If you play cards with her, you'll definitely win." With this, Hashirama enthusiastically invited Shihara Emiya to join him. "Emiya-sama, would you like to try your luck? You'll be very happy if you win, big brother." Tobirama Senju looked at his older brother with some resignation. This kind of thing was obvious. How could a figure like Shihara Emiya gamble? According to the information that Senju Tobirama secretly received over the years, Emiya Shihara only did 3 things during his travels in the ninja world: searching for the remains of the sacred tree, curing illnesses and saving lives, and writing medical records. How could such a person be infected with such a bad habit? Finally, after more than 40 chapters of dumplings, I can finally dip them in vinegar. Chapter 48, Little Tsunade meeting Emiya Shihara for the first time. "Sorry, I'm not interested in any of that." Just as Tobirama Senju had predicted, Shihara Emiya rejected Hashirama Senju, even refusing to accept a request that had been refreshed on his task list. D-rank request: beat Tsunade at the gambling table once. Shihara Emiya's task list was always marked as uncompleted requests, 2/3, and he could only accept one more request at most. To avoid mistakes, Shihara Emiya never dared to accept any requests without authorization, such as those that would have Ganzo Shimura take the blame. Shihara Emiya had attempted to accept a request while in the Land of Iron, having Ganzo Shimura take the blame as punishment for his deception. The result was a long wait, forcing Shihara to be more cautious. Of course, most importantly, Shihara Emiya didn't trust his luck. As a time traveler, his luck was so bad that he had traveled back to an ancient era over 1,000 years ago, and he had to resort to all sorts of tricks to forge a path to rebirth by utilizing the 6-path sage and black Zetsu. What if I couldn't beat Tsunade and was forced to stay in the ninja world for the reward of a D-rank commission? That would be hilarious. What if I beat Tsunade during my first try, then took a D-rank commission, and then went on a losing streak at the gambling table, even after I dealt Kaguya at Sasuke, and still couldn't beat Tsunade? That would be even more hilarious. A mastermind's 1,000-year plan, just to complete a commission and leave the ninja world, was ultimately undone by 3 tiny dice? That would be a terrifying thought. Huh? Tsunade counted the money before sizing up Emiya Shihara curiously. "You're not interested in gambling, are you? Because there are so many more things to enjoy in this world." Emiya Shihara's gaze fell on Tsunade. His eyes remained dead, but even that stillness couldn't dim the radiance within him. Anyone who saw Emiya Shihara could see the compassion and kindness on his face from every angle, a radiance that even his reincarnated body couldn't conceal. "Tsuna, let me introduce you." Senju Hashirama put away the dice cup and, with a chuckle, asked his little granddaughter, "Do you remember the stories your grandparents used to tell you every night before bed? The stories of Emiya Shihara-sama?" Little Tsunade's eyes suddenly lit up. As a child, still a child, bedtime stories were her greatest interest, especially those told by Senju Hashirama, which really suited her. How could a 5-year-old girl not love a happy, fairy tale ending? Especially when little Tsunade felt sad for the people in her bedtime stories, whose loved ones fell seriously ill and passed away one after another, leaving others struggling in agony, only to fall ill and wait for death. The true protagonist of the story, Emiya Shiyuan, would appear, saving the people from their painful illnesses and saving one village after another from destruction. Of course, Senju Hashirama's bedtime stories were simple. They were just a bedtime snack for little Tsunade. In comparison, Uzumaki Mito's stories were more complex and captivating. Because Uzumaki Mito's stories often incorporate some rather bizarre elements, even Emiya Shiyuan's character is more three-dimensional than in Senju Hashirama's. The storytelling is incredibly realistic, even to the point where someone questioning Emiya Shiyuan's medical skills provokes Tsunade's wrath. This kind of story is undoubtedly more captivating. In particular, Emiya Shiyuan, the protagonist of Uzumaki Mito's stories, wears a slug-like slug hanging from his shoulder. He rides a cart pulled by a nine-tailed fox larger than their house, descending upon a suffering village like a god. A humble young man with exceptional medical skills, a cute and helpful little slug, and a nine-tailed fox that was sometimes well-behaved and sometimes furious, like a pet. The story of their journey through the ninja world captivated a little girl. Even when the fox, worried its size might frighten its patients, voluntarily requested to be sealed away, Emiya rejected the idea, believing it would restrict its freedom. Ultimately, the fox had to leave the team, a fact that deeply saddened her. This story, imbued with truth, goodness, and beauty, while also being amusing, was perfect for a naive 5-year-old girl, and it instilled deep admiration in her. Emiya, the protagonist, commanded immense admiration. The little girl also dreamed of becoming a medical ninja like Shihara. We tell her stories about Lord Emiya every day. Hashirama Senju recalled his childhood and said with a smile, "Tsuna is just like me when I was a child." After listening to Lord Emiya's stories, she also wants to become a medical ninja. Besides, she has started to refine chakra. Her chakra control is even better than when I was a child. Hashirama Senju is very happy to praise his granddaughter in front of Emiya Shiyuan, and imagined that his childhood dream would come true in the younger generation. Maybe Tsuna is better than me, and may really become an excellent medical ninja in the future. Of course, Tsuna stood up with her hands puffed up. She thought her great-grandfather was looking down on her. She didn't even care that the money in her arms was spilled all over the floor. "I won't give up like my great-grandfather. I will become the most powerful medical ninja, like Lord Emiya Shiyuan. Endure the pain that the world cannot endure, and work hard to save the world who cannot get rid of pain." Emiya Shiyuan was silent for a moment, gazing at the little creature before him. Suddenly, he spoke, "I'll be staying in Konoha for the time being. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me." "Huh?" Hashirama Senju looked at Emiya with some surprise. Senju Tobirama wasn't surprised by this. He knew Emiya's character. This ancient medical ninja never cared about passing on his medical knowledge. He meticulously summarized all his cases and treatment plans. Even his treatment plans were applicable to ordinary medical ninja. For 10 years, whenever Tobirama Senju sent someone to contact them, they returned with a pile of medical scrolls, filling a secret room with them, the precious treasure he wanted to leave behind. Unfortunately, these scrolls didn't interest Tobirama Senju. Emiya only actively shared his knowledge of medical ninja, never sharing knowledge that could improve ninja combat effectiveness. "I'm Emiya," he introduced himself, standing up before Tsunade's stunned gaze. He held out his hand earnestly. "A medical nin." Tsunade's eyes widened in disbelief. Emiya seemed so solemn and serious at that moment that she felt a bit slow to react. She could only stare blankly at Shihara, imitating him by extending her chubby little hand. "My name is Tsunade." Confusion and shock still lingered on Tsunade's face, still unable to believe she was meeting Emiya, the protagonist of her daily bedtime stories. Hashirama Senju's expression also grew extremely serious. Even the usually indifferent and casual Tobirama Senju couldn't help but straighten his expression. This was a scene they would probably never forget. In their eyes, they witnessed with their own eyes a great man who founded the medical ninja system 1,000 years ago. After 1,000 years of crossing life and death and time, he sincerely recognized a child's dream and passed on his belief and will to the future. Of course. In any case, they would not know that whether it was the crystal coffin of the Senju clan or the spare crystal coffin of the wet-boned forest, they had actually always been prepared for Tsunade. This little girl has always been the only candidate for the crystal coffin to flow into the ninja world. If Senju Tobirama had not risked using the Impure World Reincarnation technique in advance to summon Emiya Shiyuan, Tsunade would have been the one who was truly destined to display Emiya Shiyuan's crystal coffin in the world. Even at this moment, the person who controls the second crystal coffin is still her. Please read on. Please give me a monthly ticket. Thanks to Mayonin for the reward from the big eyes. I can't type that word. I saw someone said that there was a typo problem with both and can be used. I changed my computer and used the input method that came with the computer. This computer automatically inputs. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 49 Orochimaru. Little Tsunade didn't understand the future. Right now, she was simply overjoyed. She truly loved medicine. There were things in the world as enjoyable as gambling. Although Emiya Shiyuan's appearance reduced her gambling time with her great-grandfather, it also made her childhood happier. After returning to Konoha, Shihara would come to check on Hashirama Senju every day. Little Tsunade saw Shihara daily, enjoying sneaking behind him to go to the Konoha hospital and strolling the streets together, buying chestnut juice. And Shihara was just like the protagonist in the story. Even more captivating than the protagonist in her great-grandfather's stories. After all, compared to Hashirama Senju, who was always unreliable around his little granddaughter, Shihara's image was incredibly endearing to children. Shihara's dedication to his care and treatment made him seem less approachable, yet his words always showed consideration for his patients. If a patient couldn't understand what he was saying, Emiya Shiyuan would do his best to explain his illness in a way that made it as clear as possible. Even though Emiya Shiyuan's attitude toward the ninjas was cold and distant, and he seemed to dislike the times, he inadvertently revealed a warm heart, especially towards children, a tenderness that most people could hardly imagine. On the way to Konoha Hospital, little Tsunade, her short legs keeping pace with Emiya Shiyuan's deliberately slow pace, muttered about the long distance between home and Konoha Hospital, which seemed too long for a child. It feels so far today. Emiya Shiyuan lowered his eyes and glanced at her. I'm not tired, I can still walk. Little Tsunade sensed a hint of coldness in Emiya Shiyuan's expression, fearing that this medical ninja she admired would find her determination weak and dislike her. Frightened, she frantically tried to wave her little hands, indicating that she could continue. Emiya Shiyuan silently reached out his hands to support the little girl, and as Tsunade stared in astonishment, he placed her on his shoulders. Little Tsunade was pleasantly surprised to discover that she could see farther from Emiya Shiyuan's shoulders. Emiya-sama, this is so high up. Is this where the slug in the story sat? Yes, Emiya Shiyuan, always serious, simply nodded calmly. Slugs also sit on shoulders when they can't keep up. Little Tsunade stroked her chubby little face and couldn't help but imagine the future. I want to have a slug someday. Yes, Emiya Shiyuan simply hummed. Curious, little Tsunade noticed that Emiya Shiyuan's pace had quickened, and the gentle breeze made her blink. Can I learn a lot today? Yes, then can I have some sweet grape juice today? No, that's for patients. Emiya Shiyuan rejected the little girl's suggestion, but offered another. After studying today, you can have some chestnut juice. Little Tsunade pouted. When Emiya Shiyuan brought little Tsunade to Konoha Hospital, the patient's curiosity faded. Both the medical ninja and the patients assumed Emiya Shiyuan was teaching a student. It was so similar. It was so like teacher and student. The 5-year-old Tsunade had already mastered a few medical ninjutsu, occasionally helping with simple scrapes and bruises. Of course, little Tsunade still had much to learn. The little one always stayed by Emiya Shiyuan's side, watching him speak to patients, explaining distressing illnesses in a way that everyone could understand. Your own immunity is more effective than any medicine. This disease will cause your body to produce the corresponding antibodies, and you won't be affected by it in the future. Some illnesses are like a fire in your house. To put it out, we try to use water. From now on, we'll always have a water tank at home to prevent fires. Antibodies are like the full tanks of water we keep ready for firefighting. We won't have to worry about this disease again. So cool. Tsunade's eyes sparkled. Although she didn't quite understand what antibodies and diseases were, she understood that they were in opposition, like fire and water. Tsunade waited until the sun set, feeling hungry, before tugging at Shihara Emiya's sleeve. Emiya-sama, when can we eat? I want some thick, Sweet chestnut juice. Emiya reached out and rubbed her head. This man seemed a bit reserved in his free time, but he always kept his word and never broke his promise to Tsunade. However, there was a minor incident as they were leaving the hospital. A handsome, long-haired boy was rushed to the hospital for emergency treatment. The cause of treatment was food poisoning, and his condition seemed to be somewhat critical. However, this situation was a minor problem for Konoha Hospital. After all, if it couldn't even solve such a small matter, Konoha Hospital probably wouldn't have to continue operating. A medical ninja from Konoha Hospital quickly induced vomiting in the boy, saving him from the brink of pain. Emiya Shiyuan calmly walked past the nervous parents with Tsunade, and heard the voice of the long-haired boy. Just ordinary kidney beans and green peppers, can they make you so weak? Really? The little boy's mother seemed helpless with her child. Orochimaru, you can't always do these weird experiments in the kitchen by yourself, okay? The little boy's father was also somewhat helpless. He didn't scold his child, but simply made a suggestion: let's add a new poisonous recipe to the kitchen. Don't mix kidney beans and green peppers together. Emiya Shiyuan stopped, squatted down, and spoke to little Tsunade. Just as the medical ninjas in the hallway were recording that mixing kidney beans and green peppers was poisonous, little Tsunade suddenly ran in. It's not the kidney beans and green peppers, it must be the kidney beans that weren't cooked. Uncooked beans and vegetables can accumulate strange substances in dishes, leading to food poisoning. Huh? The crowd looked at the chubby little girl in surprise. Especially the weak little boy lying in the chair. As he watched the chubby girl run away, a hint of surprise flashed in his narrow eyes. Someone actually knew more than him, someone who was practically his own age. Ever curious from a young age, Orochimaru was accidentally hospitalized along with his family after his mother's culinary adventures. From that day on, he discovered the existence of something that could make him as weak as adults, taller and stronger than him. His curiosity was piqued. This thing was incredible. Could a child defeat an adult? Orochimaru wondered how many such things existed in the world, capable of making a 5-year-old as weak as a group of adults. Since the child had limited exposure to food, and his first case of food poisoning stemmed from a culinary adventure, the kitchen's vegetables became the first ingredients for his experiments. So, Orochimaru experimented with cooking his own meals. If the experiment failed, it would prove the food was fine, and Orochimaru could serve the meal to his parents, earning their praise and compliments. If it succeeded, Orochimaru would be hospitalized. However, Orochimaru discovered another possibility today in Tsunade-chan: the results of experiments to create poisonous food aren't always entirely accurate. There's a kind of knowledge in the world that can more quickly and directly identify poisonous substances. Unfortunately, the little boy didn't get a chance to say a word. He watched helplessly as the chubby, blonde girl walked out of the crowd, holding the hand of a young man and leaving the hospital. Tsunade-chan has memorized even this kind of knowledge. A medical ninja hurriedly edited the medical record scroll in his hand, praising Tsunade-chan's intelligence. As expected of a child personally taught by Lord Emiya. Tsunade-chan? Lord Emiya. Orochimaru's eyes lowered slightly. These two somewhat unfamiliar names appeared in his world for the first time. He followed the retreating figures of Tsunade-chan and the young man. The young man's dark silhouette, cast in the setting sun, left the first trace of a deep, dark ink in the boy's mind. I have to say in advance that I like Orochimaru, Sasuke and Danzo because whenever I torture Danzo, I always follow him very much. Chapter 50 Tsunade wins the bet. Lord Emiya is amazing. Little Tsunade continued to praise Emiya Shiyuan's vast knowledge. Emiya Shiyuan didn't reply, nor did he question Tsunade. He didn't even glance back as he led her out of Konoha Hospital. Orochimaru, the truly chosen one. Before Orochimaru was even born, Emiya Shiyuan, who knew the history of the ninja world in his previous life, had already chosen him. If Tsunade was the one chosen by Emiya Shiyuan to control the crystal coffin, then Orochimaru was the one chosen by Emiya Shiyuan to ultimately utilize it. Orochimaru was a true genius. Even though Orochimaru was just a 5-year-old child in Konoha during this period, he had already demonstrated his terrifying potential. At the age of 5, this little one was already trying to defeat adults by using the toxic substances produced by food, without any instruction. It was obvious. This child's logic was crystal clear, and with a deep curiosity for knowledge, he would one day attempt to master Konoha's complex forbidden techniques. The Impure World Reincarnation technique would undoubtedly be within Orochimaru's sights. When Orochimaru mastered the Impure World Reincarnation technique, The crystal coffin left behind by Emiya Shiyuan 1,000 years ago would reach its final resting place. Even the crystal coffin in the wet bone forest was unique, meticulously designed by Emiya Shiyuan specifically to suit Orochimaru. If the Senju clan's crystal coffin was merely bait left by Emiya Shiyuan in the ninja world, then the crystal coffin in the wet bone forest would be Emiya Shiyuan's last hope for resurrection. Similarly, Orochimaru was too clever. Emiya Shiyuan didn't want to appear before Orochimaru. Excessive communication with him would inevitably arouse his suspicion in his adult life. Emiya Shiyuan avoided any direct contact with Orochimaru, lest the grown-up Orochimaru discover early on that his resurrection was a conspiracy. Even if Emiya Shiyuan were resurrected through the Impure World Reincarnation technique in this era and thrived there, he wouldn't rest on his laurels. He still needed to leave a backup plan on Orochimaru's body to prove his true resurrection. Tsunade, Shimura Danzo, Sarutobi Hiruzen. These future figures who would form bonds with Orochimaru would be deeply impressed by him during this era, and would remember his kindness to them. When Orochimaru, the genius, truly grew up, these people would form a long thread of fate, constantly surrounding him and influencing his life. That guy is so stupid, Tsunade said, completely unaware that she would ever encounter Orochimaru again. She rambled on about his past. When I came here with Grandpa before, I saw him come to the hospital after eating something wrong. Tsunade, Shihara Emiya patted Tsunade's head and lectured her. If we don't like someone, we should tell them to their face, not say bad things about them behind their backs. Is that so? Tsunade nodded, then whispered, but I don't think that guy is bad. He's just a little bit clueless. He always gets sent to the hospital after eating strange food poisoning. Shihara Emiya fell silent. Should he get her eyesight checked? In this ninja world, everyone could say Orochimaru was incredibly bad, even a bit clueless, but it was impossible to say he was stupid. I heard he's about the same age as me. Tsunade sighed at such a young age, worried about her future classmate. I'm going to school this year, too. Will he be my classmate? I hope he becomes smarter, or he'll definitely get bullied, and I might even have to protect him. Emiya Shiyuan thought his impure world body had lost its hearing. How could Orochimaru be so foolish as to be deceived? It would take him 1,000 years to deceive him, so who else in the ninja world could pull that off? If Orochimaru didn't trick people in the future, he would be considered a man of high moral character. But kindness is something to be encouraged. And Tsunade, fortunately, wouldn't be hurt by such kindness. Emiya Shiyuan lifted little Tsunade onto his shoulders and led her towards Konoha's shopping district, without discouraging her. Today you can choose a glass of sugarcane juice, which is sweeter than chestnut juice. Huh? Why? Little Tsunade touched her baby teeth curiously. Remember to clean your teeth afterward. Emiya Shiyuan's voice remained calm, as if he was acting spontaneously, without explaining why he was rewarding the little one. Emiya-sama is the best, little Tsunade cheered, hugging Shihara's forehead. Shihara pulled away the small hand that was obscuring her view and asked, "Are you going to gamble with Hashirama again when we get home today?" "Bet." Little Tsunade's attitude was resolute. This little girl had been led astray by her unreliable elders. While Shihara Emiya's teaching was her favorite part of life, gambling with her great-grandfather was also her most satisfying pastime. As Shihara and little Tsunade returned home from buying sugarcane juice, they suddenly spotted the young Jiraiya they had met back in Konoha. He was smiling and happily chatting with a woman at least 20 years his senior. The little girl's smile was strangely radiant with joy. Perhaps this was a natural talent, it seemed. Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Orochimaru, the three renowned Konoha ninjas of Emiya Shihara's past life, were truly gifted, having so early embarked on their three favorite paths. I'm going to beat Grandpa today. Little Tsunade clenched her fists with confidence. A gambling prodigy, she had mastered every gambling trick by the age of 5, from the simplest dice size to the most complex card games. Thinking of trying a different tactic today, she felt certain she could win. Emiya Shihara simply sighed. He couldn't say much about little Tsunade's luck. At Hashirama Senju's home, little Tsunade immediately and ambitiously tried to reopen the gambling game. "Grandpa, I'm going to win today." "Ha ha ha ha, okay, I believe it." Hashirama Senju laughed heartily as he took his little granddaughter from Emiya Shihara's shoulders, but first he pulled out a pendant. But, Hashirama's palm suddenly clenched into a fist, then suddenly opened, as if by magic. "Grandpa wants to give you a gift first." As he spoke, a pendant suddenly appeared in his palm. A shimmering emerald green gemstone adorned it, a truly extraordinary sight. "Huh?" Tsunade watched as Hashirama draped the pendant around her neck, delightedly grasping the gem. This is so beautiful. Is it for me? Of course it's for Tsunade-chan. Hashirama patted her head with a smile and beckoned her to spread out the mats and start gambling. Go get ready. I've got plenty of money for today, okay? Tsunade excitedly set up the mats, ready to begin the game. However, something was strange in the courtyard today. The usually busy Tobirama was also there, as were Mito Uzumaki and her children, each with a look of worry on their faces. Around this house, in addition to the Hokage's guards who were always on guard, there were many more Embu ninjas inside and outside. It seems, Emiya Shiyuan glanced meaningfully at Hashirama Senju, then looked at Tobirama Senju with a heavy face. We will stay here as guests tonight. Tobirama Senju turned his head away with an unpleasant look, and his usually indifferent voice was mixed with a hint of uneasiness and pain. I just hope that I can come to visit my brother tomorrow. Time is almost up. Hashirama Senju's life is finally coming to an end. However, the face of the first-generation Hokage did not show any signs of dying. He was still full of energy walking around the gambling table, which was piled with all his savings. He was still shouting to Tsunade to open the market. 4, 6, 6, big, Tsunade, you lost again 3, 1, 1, small, Tsuneo, I win again, damn it. The money in front of Tsuneo's yen kept decreasing, and the little guy's mouth bulged and pouted higher and higher, as if he was going to explode with his luck in gambling. Tsuneo, this is the last one. As long as you can win this time, all the debts you owed before will be written off, and all the money here will belong to you. Really? Little Tsunade's eyes immediately flashed with greedy stars. If she wins this time, she can make a lot of money, and she won't have to worry about the gambling money when she and her grandfather gamble in the future. Maybe she can even lend money to her grandfather proudly. However, the interest still needs to be considered. Little Tsunade has already understood that interest can make money. She touched her chin and imagined what arrogant posture she would put on when she won the bet. When counting the money, her wrist accidentally touched the gem on her chest. Well, for the sake of the gift, she can also choose not to charge the interest from her grandfather. The dice in the dice cup kept ringing. Little Tsunade blinked her eyes, staring closely at Hashirama Senju's movements, and her ears listened to the sound of the dice, for fear that she would miss out on a large fortune. Small, little Tsunade chose the side she was betting on. Okay, then I can only choose big. Hashirama Senju nodded with a smile and opened the dice cup. 2 points, 2 points, 1 point. The dice in the dice cup showed 3 decimals. I win. Little Tsunade arrogantly grabbed the coins on the gambling table and counted the bills in her hand unscrupulously. Even her posture of counting money looked particularly skilled. Hashirama Senju smiled as he watched his little granddaughter counting the money, but his body slowly fell down at this moment, and fell on the mat in a somewhat embarrassed manner. Grandpa, little Tsunade looked at Hashirama Senju falling down with a face full of shock. This great-grandfather who protected her like a god was in an unprecedented embarrassment, and her little mind had no time to figure out what was happening at this moment. It finally began. Today is nearly 6,000 words again. After all, I have to say goodbye to the first generation. Please read and vote for me. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.